Anyway.
I'll stop my yapping now that Craig's here.
Yeah, Craig. So,
I don't want to say anything to him.
I just want to
What do you
ask
have
you guys
against Craig? What did he do to you?
Oh, okay.
I don't have anything against Craig. He's always listening, man. He doesn't like let us just like talk amongst ourselves. Kind of like a lurker sometimes, and I just don't, no offense
Okay.
to him or anything.
Okay, no,
He's
but
like that picture, learn to step back. Not everything needs a reaction.
yeah, Craig is an intent listener. He doesn't have much to say, but he's never said anything to you, but he
He's
said
got a
things to me.
microphone.
He
He's got
does
a
have a
microphone.
microphone.
You see it
Yeah.
right there, front and center. Who's he talking to if not us? You ever think about that? Who's he talking to
Maybe
if not
he's
us? He's got a
handing us the
microphone.
microphone, like that picture of the dog handing us a blunt.
That's true. That's true. You can see it.
Potentially.
We're not able to see his hands.
He does seem very nonplussed, so I maybe you're onto something.
Yeah.
By the way,
He's
if you
trying to
don't
give us.
know, we're referring to the secret fourth member of our podcast that we've had this entire time. Welcome, Craig, everybody. Craig, how are you doing
Yep,
this evening?
that's right.
Woo!
That's right. That's right. It's me, Craig. I'm doing great, guys.
Okay, you can't just do that. You can't just
No,
like
You're not Craig. That's identity theft. That's identity theft.
identity
That's
theft is
identity
not
theft.
okay.
Okay, we're an
no,
actual true crime podcast now. We have to solve the crime of Cake stealing Craig's identity.
Guys. This is me, Craig. It's okay for him to do this. It's okay for Cake to do this.
No,
I give him
you can't do
permission.
that.
I give him permission.
You can't
It's
do
all
that.
right. It's okay. It's okay. This is me.
Cake, you're doing
This is me
Craig face right
speaking.
now. This is very offensive.
What? Excuse me? Hello?
Yo.
Now hold on. Now hold on a second.
Hey.
Now wait just one moment here. I would say, as Craig, that's not a thing. That's not real.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, stop. You're digging a deeper hole for yourself. You were digging a deeper hole for yourself. There will be threads. There will be threads made. You can't do this.
Hey, look, man, he said it, not me. Okay, I can't control what Craig says. Okay, none of us can. I think you should lay off him. Okay,
Yeah.
Craig is the light
give him a
now.
break.
Craig is the light because he's the light of
Whoa.
my life.
You got that up there so quickly.
I did.
Wow. Thank you for doing that, Ethan.
Craig, incredible Discord plugin. If you want to create a podcast for yourself on Discord, use Craig.
Go.
Use coupon code ScribbleBunkhouse.
Evidently to Craig, I'll give him credit. I'll give him credit. He was my only companion when you guys left me to die a couple months ago, so I get it.
That didn't happen.
Maybe I shouldn't be too cruel towards him. And y'all left me in the boonies. Yeah, he was my Wilson in many ways. Yeah, I swear I could see that little line he calls him mouth turn to a smile the more mad I got.
The more
you turn madness. Speaking of madness, welcome to the 20th episode of the Scramble Bunkhouse Southcast.
This is it. This is it.
Dude, big 2-0. And we've only gone on like three extended breaks.
And by extended, we mean like 1 week without posting an episode.
Yeah. But we're here. We are
never
here.
Leaving. We are never
leaving, dude. And 20 more will be soon approaching.
But there's always been a pact.
Some extra special guests on these next 20 episodes of the podcast. We will eventually arrange for somehow an even younger guest than Armani to show up in an episode, with somehow an even older guest than whoever our oldest guest was at the same time.
Oh, you're right. We will have the double feature one day.
The double hitter. But there's always been a pact amongst us whenever we first entered the bunkhouse and we decided to scramble it in a crazy manner. We made an agreement on what episode 20 would be. Long before we ever even thought of 20 as a possibility, we knew that were to get to that point, there was only one thing that we could possibly do for it.
Yeah.
It was written in the scramble. Then and there in the yoke, before it was even scrambled, we wrote this out.
In the yoke. Oh my god, you're right. But yeah, we many moons ago, it wasn't even said, it was an unsaid agreement that when episode 20 arrives, we will funky the town. And episode 20 has arrived, and we have funkied the town. We will be talking about Genichiro Tenryu versus Kenta from Noah 2005.
The funkiest
This is
town of
a
them all.
navigation show of some sort.
Yeah, some sort of navigation in Kurikan Hall.
That's
But-
a good that's a good baseline if you're guessing any early Noah show. Just guess that they're called something navigation. If you know the season that it happened in, just guess the season. Summer navigation. I'm guessing that's what the show is called.
Okay, you know what? Just give me a second. I'm gonna check right now. I want to see if you're right. Let me go here. It was in October 8th, 2005.
So autumn navigation.
Autumn navigation. Holy shit, Ethan. Noah Autumn Navigation 2005. Autumn Navigation 2005. Holy shit. Dude.
He does it again.
He does it again. That's wow. But we got
That was really shot in the dark though. Every Noah show is called navigation.
That's actually insane. We gotta hold off though. We're holding off for a second on talking about that match because we will get to it and we will explain Funkytown. But a tweet was put out after episode 19 or after episode 18 was posted and episode 19 was coming. We put out a tweet saying that we want to hear from the fans, the scramblees. We want to hear from them, and a little bit of a Q&A. So I have that tweet pulled up.
Oh man.
I will be looking through the questions, reading them. I will be saying who asked these questions because some of these the name needs to be attached to the question. Like there has to be proof that they said this in case they decide to delete it later for their own reputation. Because let me tell you, you'd think that the comment section of this tweet was a donkey stable considering the amount of jackasses in here.
Ain't that true? But
let's get started with a good one. Okay, let's start with this because this is someone that two people asked this question, and it's a really good one to start with. Aiden at I am Los Lucha and Lucas at Lucas Thing 22. They both asked a question, which I'm gonna put together into one, which is who would win in a scramble bunkhouse death match between the three of us?
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm not gonna say myself. I think I would have the experience factor just from watching probably more scramble bunkhouse death matches than you two. But I think Cake would win because I think Cake is the most adaptable of the three of us. And a vital part of being in a scramble bunkhouse deathmatch is being able to adapt to whoever has the barbed wire bat and whoever is in the control of the brawl. Like, if you're able to adapt to that better than anyone else, you will get the bat more than like anyone else, and you will probably be in control more than anyone else in general. I think Cake has the best shot of winning. Cake, what do you think?
I agree. I think I do have the best shot of winning.
Okay.
I'm not putting you over, buddy. Nor am I putting Ethan over. You could say you could do all the pleasantries that you want. I would win. This is definitely true. However, I do wanna correct you on one thing, which actually I'll get to it in a second. Ethan, I need you to respond first of the three of us who's gonna win, and then I need to bring up a quick addendum afterward.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think this is going to be down to height because if I grab the bat, because I'm slightly taller than both of you, if I grab the bat, I'm just holding it over my head. I'm not letting anybody get it.
Dude,
I'm just going on my tippy toes, going onto the top.
Slightly is an understatement. We're like roughly the same height if you just put your hair down. Like if you made your hair wet, the inches you got on me would go away fast.
Dude.
Well, that's why I got the hair. That's why I got the hair to help
Oh
me.
yeah, you're right. I forgot that helps your reach.
But
You're right. My
well,
bad. My bad.
I was gonna say, how does that aid the reach, Ethan?
You never know. You never
Do you just
know.
have like, but Ethan? I've seen you. Are you like secretly hiding? You have freakishly long arms or something?
I have pretty long arms.
Massive wingspan.
Massive wingspan. But what if we
My
gang
wingspan
up
is
on
at
you?
least like 3 or 4 inches
What if John
longer than
goes
I
for a
am
double
tall.
leg takedown and then I go for your arms to get the
Yeah.
bat?
Okay.
Will you do that?
That's a good question. I wanna segue from that because I need to ask this. Who would be the pairing that teams up for most of the match? Because in a lot of these matches, two guys will like team up for the majority of it, and then the cracks will form. But which of us will team? Because I do think it might be me and Cake. I think Ethan would like try to play his game of holding it above his head, and we
Yeah.
both could fed
If
up.
Ethan's decided to do monkey in the middle with the bat, then we have to
Then he's the
join
monkey in the
forces.
middle, bro.
We have to
Yes.
join forces.
But also,
There's no
it
two ways
depends
about
on
it.
what kind of cage it is. Because if it's a cage that extends slightly beyond the apron of the ring, I will go under the ring and hide there for the whole match so nobody can see anything. And we'll
Well,
have the
okay.
struggle under the ring.
Well, if we're talking about scrambled bunkhouse deathmatch, I'm in my head. We're talking about the traditional version that was seen in like Wing and in every promotion after Wing that wanted to do the match because Wing did it, where like everybody has to start on different like corners of the arena, and then the ref counts down from 10, and when he gets to 0, everybody's got to run to the ring because there's a barbed wire bat laying in the middle of the ring, and like whoever gets it first has the bat. So actually, that brings up the question: which of us is the fastest? Which again, I think is
That's what I
probably
was about to
Cake.
say. I was pretty fast back in my day.
I mean, I
I
was
think
too,
probably.
but like
Well,
my
what
day
was
is
your mile
past.
time, Ethan?
I'm not a mile runner. I was a short distance
Well, then
runner.
you're already cooked, buddy.
You're short distance runner, but it's not. Listen, depending on the size of the arena, if we got a good house, you're not going to be able to make it. You're
You
hoping
see,
that
I'm
we get a bad
imagining that
house.
we don't pull more than anything larger than the H2O arena. And if we're going from the corners of
Oh.
there, I give myself a pretty decent chance.
Corners of the
wrestling-
H2O arena scramble bunkhouse deathmatch. Dude,
I would just
5
jump off the giant balcony, break both of my legs, grab it, and then take it with me into the ambulance.
5-step walk into the ring.
Oh man, I do need to counter. Looking at the questionnaires here, the question from I am Los Lucha is not about fighting in a scramble bunkhouse. It's fighting to the death.
It
It's
is.
not.
It
This is
is.
not a match. This is
Well,
who in a life or death situation would be the winner.
I was going to add to that because Lucas said scramble bunkhouse death match, and I want to say in this situation, knowing us, we would actually treat it like a death match. So,
So there would
which
be
of us
one
would be
survivor.
who would be willing to pull the trigger? Again, I think I'd feel bad. I think Cake would be able to put on a war face.
I would not be
I
able
think
to
I'd feel
kill
pretty
anybody.
bad too. I think I would feel pretty bad, but I think it would depend on the situation. I think I got too much going on in my life right now to throw it away for you guys.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I
If it's
thought.
in a situation, where two of us have to die, like there isn't like a we can all get along, there isn't like a Deus Ex Machina situation, like there literally can only be one of us who's alive and there's no avoiding that, then yeah, I'd have no guilt because there's no way around it. It has to happen. And I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
lay down for it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but that's the way it goes.
Well, I think
We'll
that's
concede on that.
a fair answer in my opinion. I
Mm.
think I do agree with that. Well, I'll go back to I am Los Lucha because he has a few questions here. The next one: can you guys promote the most unknown wrestler you know? So
I
I
think we
have
already
trouble.
have. Cameron Cohog.
Cameron Kohog, we did. Okay, you know what? I was gonna try and think of some sleaze like Japanese wrestler, but Cameron Kohog's the actual answer.
It is quite literally Cameron Cohog, but that's like a John pick though, because Cameron Cohog
That
is
is,
your
yeah.
area.
Well,
Like,
whatever
But Cameron,
area,
I will
the
say
area
that
used to be in,
Cameron
yeah.
Cohog does also answer another question that we have, but we'll get to that when we get to that.
Yeah. Yeah, but I would say Cameron Kohog, if you are in the if you're listening to this, not Cameron Kohog, well, if you're listening to, but if you're listening to this podcast and you are anywhere near the southern-ish Tennessee area,
Actually, no.
kind
If you're
kind of
anywhere in the south, if you're anywhere within an 8-hour driving distance of the
that's
southern
true.
Tennessee area,
That's
Eight
true.
hours.
If you're anywhere within that area, there are shows in Dyersburg, Tennessee. I believe that's where it is. Dyersburg, Tennessee, like once a week. Cameron Gohog is on every single one of those shows. I genuinely mean this. I think he's a really good wrestler. Like, not just because he's funny and he's Peter Griffin, but like sometimes he'll throw a punch and it's a really, really damn good worked punch that like very few people are able to match in America. Um, he's not reinventing the wheel. He's like his execution is very local indie, but he's so fun. The crowd loves him, and he has a few of those moments like the worked puncher. Like, damn, if he just had a little bit more training, could get a little bit more out there than just this area. Because it's very insular. He's not. He's going against a lot of the same guys who are not able to help him grow any more than he is already at.
Mhm.
But like, if he was able to get out and do some more stuff, get a little bit more training about some things, fix the execution, and just really hone in on honestly the southern wrestling that he has in him, he would be like he'd be the type of guy that people would talk about on forums 10 years later and be like, wow, if you ignore the gimmick, this guy's like a marvel.
Speaking of which,
also
my answer, because that is John's answer for this question. If you live in the southern Tennessee area, make sure to check out Cameron Cohog. If you live in the West Virginian or Pittsburgh area,
Yeah.
make sure to I'm gonna plug the whole thing. Watch all of Rise Professional Wrestling,
Ah!
Uniontown, Pennsylvania. There's plenty of great wrestlers on there. Glenn Spector, Cowpoke Paul, Ron Mathis. Uh, all guys that you probably haven't heard of unless you're in the know, and they're all great. So watch any of them. Watch all of them, in fact. Or go to your
Yeah.
own local indie and watch those guys too, because they're probably of equal or greater talent. And that's not a slight towards anything. It's just like there's a lot of good wrestling everywhere.
Yeah, it's like a lot of people nowadays. We had a whole episode talking about the local indie,
Mhm.
like
That was
10
episode
episodes
2.
back. Yeah, episode 2 was Hobo Hank, and then we had that whole speech whenever we were like helping Ethan find a local indie in his area.
Yeah,
Um,
yes,
exactly.
yeah, like we've talked about this multiple times. A lot of people are very, especially people within our circle, are very down on wrestling nowadays, and that's understandable because the wrestling that's being promoted at the highest level is not what a lot of us want to see, and it's disappointing and shit. But like the thing that you can depend on is that if there is a local indie near you, it's probably fun. Like it's not going to be
Mhm.
the best wrestling you've ever seen. It's not going to be like fucking 5 star or whatever, but it's going to be a fun time. And you can kind of always depend on local indies to do that because they're so in their own world and they've not changed. Like most local indies have not changed from like how they were in the 90s. They have the exact same feeling and it's just good old wrestling, especially in the South, but like just everywhere. It's good old wrestling. It's fun and you should just go enjoy it. It is the easiest way to have fun with wrestling, especially nowadays when the stuff that you see on TV for a lot of people no longer pushes the buttons.
So true. Ethan, what's your choice?
my choice isn't going to be as glamorous or as interesting as either of yours are because as much as I've wanted to go to the local indies around me, none of them have had like none of them have really been promoting shows recently, so I haven't really been able to go to them. And the ones that have been promoting shows have been further away than I'd want to go on a weekend,
Right.
or they were on a weekday and I had work. But the person that I want to promote that most of the people out here haven't heard of, I'm going the Jom route. And I am going to take a sleazy Japanese indie guy.
Oh yeah.
You should all look for Jota. Jota.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love you, Ethan. Yeah.
Hello?
it just cut
No,
off. It just cut off at
dude.
Joe.
Yes.
Dude, the ops got him, bro.
The ops got him. They wouldn't let him talk about Jonah.
Wait, hold on.
Hold
Fuck.
on. All right,
Oh,
Dario,
thank
go
Oh
God,
ahead.
it's still
no,
my mic. My mic is not dead. I thought my
Oh.
mic was dead for a second. Okay,
that'd be tragic.
Okay, continue, Ethan.
okay, Jota. He is really, really cool. If you know who Thonum Socktober,
Oh
no.
similar look to him, not just the look, just the look.
Yeah. Ethan, I hate to say this, you keep cutting out.
The dream might be over, buddy.
Okay,
Ethan might be dead.
while he is getting his stuff fixed, I will quickly cover for him. Joda is a capture trainee. If you know what capture is, that's the basement wrestling that Koki Kitahara does. We do not have a ton of Joda footage. I think in terms of the stuff that's publicly available, we have probably 15
Hello.
matches. Oh, you're back, Ethan.
I am
Hello.
back. Okay, so
Okay.
Jota. He's a guy who worked pretty much exclusively in Capture and Exit, the two companies founded by Koki Kitahara and Fugo Yumeji, respectively, that
Yeah.
were exclusively based around both of those guys' love of street fighting, just fighting random motherfuckers in the streets. And
Yeah.
Jota, I actually talked to him over Facebook Messenger because I wanted people to know about him, and he said that he was trained in the Capture Dojo itself
He
2
was,
years
yes.
before he started wrestling.
Yeah.
And he just wrestled in companies that were very underground purposefully, and he's unbelievable. He's a striker. He's a very, very hard kicker. He reminds me, the closest analogy I could give is Thanom Socktoba, because he has the big gloves, really hard kicks. I really highly, highly recommend his matches against Masayuki Mineno from the 3 capture shows that we have in full.
Yeah.
He is just, he's a monster at what he
Yeah.
does. And what he does is melt people's faces with kicks and knees and punches.
Yeah, I will add on to that. After capture, because capture is where he's in the gloves and he's like at his skinny. Capture is when he really is a lot like Toba. The way I would describe it is that Toba is like skinny and he's kind of like a big hitter, like pepper shots. Joda is like if Toba was a dickhead. Like if because Toba's like not really evil or anything. He's just like he's a fighter and he's got a fighter spirit. Joda's like a piece of shit. He's a douchebag.
He's like a perfect combination of Thanom Socktoba's style and Yoji Anjo's dickheadedness.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
He's like, or a better way to put it in my head is he's like if you took Thanom Socktoba and Takeshi Ono and put them into a blender.
You know what? It's even better. I would say it's even better. I will say after capture, he doesn't really wear the gloves anymore. He changes his gear a lot. He works a lot in
He
exit.
changes
He works a lot in
Kaoru. No, not Kaoru. Leon gear. No, god
yes,
damn it. Why can't I remember her name? No,
No, I know what you're
no.
talking about though.
It's Akino gear. Akino gear.
Aquino, yeah. But yeah, he goes to exit. We have a good amount of his exit matches. Specifically, there's a tag from 2018, which is it's Fuga Yumeji and Buki, who is the worked son of Great Kabuki, against Yuki Ishikawa and Joda. And you go into that and you're like, oh, Yumeji versus Ishikawa, that's crazy. And you want to concentrate on that. But anytime Joda and Fugo go against each other, it's like, holy shit, this might be better. Like he's so good. His work in Gonko Pro, which is not publicly available, but I've seen like one match from it. It's again stellar. He's just a guy that like if you can find footage of him, which there is footage to find, watch it. Uh he always delivers. He has maybe the best enziguri ever. It is a scary kick. Like he hits it and it looks like it's actually like severed the fucking spinal cord. Um yeah, so I'm tacking on to Ethan's recommendation because I put Ethan on to Joda. Like that was a put on for me. So I just have to add in and say I love Joda. I have loved him for years, and yeah, I'm happy Ethan brought him up because he is a massive wreck.
Also, I'm sorry, I do have one more person that I would like to mention very
Right.
quickly
Oh,
because he's somebody who doesn't have a cage match profile. That's how little known he is.
Oh.
And John, I think you're gonna enjoy this. He's a little wrestler from the French Canadian area named Simon Sanders.
Oh yeah.
He's even less known than Crazy Crusher and Hellstorm because he didn't have an insane match like they did. But from the clips I've seen, and I have a Crazy Crusher tag from Halloween 2002 that Crusher himself sent me, and it is, god damn it, little Scotty takes the most ridiculous. Simon, he looks like a Scotty though. Little Simon takes the best bumps in the entire match. And there's a TLC match with Crazy Crusher and Nightmare Sanders Crazy Crusher and Nightmare Manson. It was Crazy Crusher and XS69 versus Nightmare Manson and Simon Sanders. Sanders gets fucked up really, really bad in that match too. He's a bump freak for the real weed stickers. If you're looking for a bump freak that hasn't yet been discovered or gift and clipped to hell on Twitter, check out Simon Sanders.
Yeah. So
Wow.
there is one last question from I Am Los Luchas,
Yes,
which
there
there's a couple parts of it. So, have any of you seen Cara Noir versus Eddie Kingston from WXW in 2020, and what did you think of it? And if you haven't seen it, what do you think of the clash of styles? So I just want to ask beforehand: has anyone here seen Noir versus Kingston?
I have.
Oh, you have? Okay,
Oh,
that's.
I have not.
Okay, yeah. Cake, you go first then.
I don't remember it. I saw it. I don't remember. I don't even remember when it happened. I know it was during the 16 karat gold. I remember Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Makabe that also happened in that
Yes.
tournament, and that was pretty cool.
That match was sick, yeah.
Do not recall this one though whatsoever.
Yeah.
I remember it ended kind of all right, but everything else about it just completely left my brain. It was gone. It was just totally gone. So I have no opinion on it. Unfortunately.
No,
So I guess my verdict is I saw it, but I didn't remember it as much as the match that happened the day before, which I do remember. So you can take that for what you will.
Yeah. As someone that has not seen it, and the question is asked, what do you think of the Clash of Styles? There is a notable Clash of Styles here.
Yes.
Eddie Kingston is a good wrestler, and Cara Noir is not. That's a pretty massive Clash of Styles.
Oh jeez.
So I think yeah, that's a pretty big one. Eddie Kingston probably did some good stuff. And I will say, Cara Noir, even though I have problems, Cara Noir has good execution on some shit. Like the sleeper hold he does is actually pretty sick. So I'm sure that they did some good work. I have not seen it, and I admittedly don't really have much interest in seeing it. But also it's in WXW, which does not help its case for me.
I'm not a WXW head at all.
No, I actually strongly dislike the promotion. I think the crowd's annoying as fuck.
Well, what I personally think about the Clash of Styles is that it looks like two people in Brooklyn getting into a bar fight.
Yeah,
people in Brooklyn.
Well, yeah, no, I actually entirely
No,
see
I
the
can
vision
see
on
it.
this.
I
Different
can,
side
yeah.
of Brooklyn.
I can. This is took me by surprise. It's like one of those like really, and then like 2 seconds later, like, oh yeah, no, you're right.
Yeah. Okay, so
Okay.
let's go to next up. This is just a small little one from Josh at Josh or Randall. Favorite suplex variation?
Ooh.
Honestly, I'm going backdrop, just plain old backdrop. And I think I used to be more of a like. There's a really cool like the complex ones. Like Tiger Mask 4 has like 3 different really fucked up suplexes. And there are some there's some great ones. Of course, I used to be a big German suplex head because I think that there's so much variation within how you do a German suplex. It's really fascinating. But the same can be said about a backdrop. And a good friend of mine, good friend of the pod, Chris Yelord, who will appear later in this Q&A. I think the backdrop is his favorite move ever, and he has put me onto so many backdrops, and I think I just kind of like it's become one of my favorite moves because of his enthusiasm for it. So it kind of has to be my favorite suplex variation.
I'm also a huge
Are you kidding me,
backdrop
John?
head.
What? What?
You forgot to mention Chris Yelord. Not only does he love the backdrop, his name on Twitter is Mr. Backdrop.
His name on Twitter is Mr. Backdrop. You're right. That's literally his name on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm a big backdrop head too. That's probably my answer as well. The Saito suplex, of course, honorary mention. But like the backdrop is just so cool, man. It's so
Yeah.
awesome. And I guess the Saito is kind of a backdrop in its own way, not
It
like
is.
fully.
I think it's a very when people try to say they're distinct, it becomes kind of difficult because when you look at the two, especially depending on who's doing it, like
Mhm.
let's be entirely honest. 90% of Eddie Kingston's Saito suplexes were just backdrops.
They're
Like
backdrops. Yeah.
they were just backdrops. The Saito suplex, according to the definition, is like you're holding them kind of at the side, and Eddie Kingston usually just had him in backdrop position. But fucking Masa Saito also sometimes had him in backdrop position. It's called the Saito suplex because Masa Saito was doing it, but it's kind of basically just a backdrop, kind of different.
Yeah. But
So
that's probably the best suplex, in my opinion.
yeah,
A
yeah,
good nasty German is up there as well, but it's just I don't know. It's the backdrop. So that's my choice. It's the backdrop.
yeah. Ethan, what are you thinking?
The backdrop is a wonderful choice. I do think the backdrop is. It would probably be my choice on most other days because I choose between different suplex variations daily. It's either going to
Right.
be the backdrop, a really good German, specifically a release German from one
Yeah,
Alexander
yeah.
Oetzke, or I know this is a German variation, but I love the spider suplex in particular.
Yeah.
But I rewatched Akiyama Shibata lately since we watched it on the podcast, specifically the exploder at the end. And there's something about a good exploder that you don't really get from a lot of other suplexes. Because it's a combination of like the back of your head thwacking against the mat and your whole body. It is kind of like the thing with a backdrop, but it's just a forward backdrop that I like. So
Right.
everything kind of draws back to the backdrop, but I don't know, a good capture exploder suplex.
Oh, yeah, yeah. If we're bringing in capture, like not the promotion, the super, like fucking Akira Maeda's capture suplex, he would crunch guys on that, and that is like, yeah. I think that's a very fair choice. Exploder in general, very fair choice. Um, yeah, no, and the note about it basically being a forwards like facing backdrop is a very also good point because I never thought about it, but it kind of is, yeah.
And
Um,
also, like, three of my favorite moves of all time are exploders, or two of them. One of them is the fucked up exploder in Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher, and the other one is the fucked up exploder in the Inoki Festival tag that Otsuka hits on
oh,
Ikeda.
yeah.
But to be fair,
Um,
Otsuka also hits one of the sickest backdrops ever on Ikeda in that
I was
match.
going to also say, yeah, in that match, Otsuka hits like one of the best backdrops ever. So it is a tough race. So I mentioned him before, so let's just go straight to him now. Mr. Backdrop Chris at ulord _. Who is your favorite worst wrestler of all time? Uh, Ethan, you were just talking, but I will give it back to you. Who is your favorite worst wrestler? And I guess in this definition, it would be a wrestler that you know is bad for one reason or another, but like you still love them.
Well, you see, this wrestler, I've been thinking about it, but like my favorite worst wrestler, this is the one that I probably had the hardest time with because I feel like you could argue that any quote unquote bad wrestler had at least 1 year where they were interesting and fun to watch, if not outright good. So I'm trying to think of somebody who was just, you know, not very good at all.
Right.
That you still like though.
I
I
mean,
think,
I can start it because I actually have my answer immediately.
yes, please start it.
Okay. I was mainly picking between two people. I almost picked one guy, but I think for one. Okay, so part of the reason I'm not picking, there's two reasons why I'm not. One is because I don't think I actually enjoy him as much as I enjoy the other person. Um, and the other reason is because we're going to talk about him on the podcast eventually, and I want to hold off on even mentioning his name until then. Uh,
Is it
but
Mr. ZW?
ZW. No, I don't think it's ZW. I don't know
Not
who you're referring
Zawinga?
to. No, not Zawinga. We've already talked about Zawinga. Zawinga's not even the worst wrestler of all. Like he's not even like he's just kind of boring. Like his crime is that he's lazy and boring. But like I'm thinking
And I think
wrestlers
those
that
are
are
the
like
worst wrestlers.
Okay, you're right, but I'm
Yeah, but you
in
still
my
have to
head. I'm
like
thinking,
them.
yeah, I don't really like the winger. I think he's
Oh, that's
okay. I
true.
think he's funny. I think he's funny, and I'm gonna buy a winger mask eventually. But like, it's either funnier wrestlers that are worse. No, the guy I'm thinking of is I'm not even gonna say it. We will talk about him probably soon. The other guy though, the guy that I think is funnier, I like watching his matches more, and I think he might. I don't know if he's actually worse, but he is really fucking bad. Mambo Shintaro. He was this old dude that started wrestling for Fighting Ultimate Crazy Kings or Fuck. Uh, he is in my number 100 greatest match of all time. My number 100 spot, because this is the way that a lot of people I know do it, and this is the same way I do it, is number 100 spot is the one that I put there because I want it to be on my list no matter what. It is one of the worst matches I've ever seen on a technical level. It is like Mambo Shintaro versus Hideki Shioda from 2008. It is a bafflingly bad match. The execution is so awful. Mambo Shintaro throws maybe the worst elbows ever, hits the worst tiger suplex ever, hits the worst does the worst backslide ever, does the worst rolling elbow ever, does the worst suicide dive ever, and that is all within the same match. And I love him. I love this old dude who is like so full of the spirit, even though he is so incapable of wrestling. Like he like legitimately the suicide dive he does is like a reinvention of what a suicide dive is. I don't even know how to describe it. It is baffling. But still, I love him. Anytime I see Mambo Shintaro on a card, I'm like, oh yes, 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 yes. I'm so happy to watch this because I know I will have a great time laughing at how awful the match is. And I guess the one thing I will say is that Shintaro once had another match against Shioda, and there's a moment where he goes for an arm drag, and he falls too early, so he kind of just like puts him in the position and then lets go and falls down. And in the background, the camera zooms in through a window that is in the background, and you can see Kota Ibushi, who is like snuck over to watch the show, just fucking dying laughing. Like the hardest laugh I've ever seen him give off watching Mambo Shintaro do the worst arm drag ever. And if that does not say enough about Mambo Shintaro, I do not know what does.
So true. Ethan, have you thought of your pick?
I think I have thought of my pick. And this is a wrestler who we did not get to know very well, as he was only a wrestler for a short period of time, from what I'm aware of. I didn't check his cage match, because I don't want to know if he's wrestled anywhere else besides AEW. But my pick is none other than Parker Boudreaux.
Oh,
WWE legend Parker Boudreaux.
dude, great legend. He's working there in like a month.
What?
Did you not
Mhm.
hear? That was announced on the
No.
show yesterday. He's gonna be there like next month or something.
Do you think I'm watching great shows to listen to see if my favorite
No, but I
band
think
is on them?
no, but I think you're following Parker Boudreaux because he tweeted about it like 10 times within the span of an hour.
Oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah,
I need to
Mhm.
follow Parker Boudreaux now.
you do.
Fun
You
fact:
need
he's sponsored by like 2 different like designer brand sunglass companies,
He is, yeah.
which
I mean, this
which
isn't
is
even his
so funny.
Twitter. Twitter ran by the official team of Parker Boudreaux. Why does he have a team?
Dude, well, look at his follower count, dude. He's actually like, he's got better numbers than like guys that are still on the WWE roster, like on the main roster.
He's
Like
got better numbers than most people, man.
yeah, he's like actually. How did this happen?
He's just I mean, the glasses probably help. Like I said, he's like a clout guy, man.
Yeah, he is because I remember seeing like he's got a bunch of pictures with like rappers and shit too. Like I think he's just like
He's
super
just in the
connected.
know. Yeah, he's
Yeah.
got some crazy connections. He's a funny guy to watch though. I do see where you're coming from on that. He's a very funny guy to watch.
Yeah. Dude,
Dude, this
I
singlet
I
he's wearing.
literally
Oh my god. Oh
I'm
my
scrolling
god.
through his Twitter. One of the first pictures I see is him hanging out with Riff Raff. Like, dude, like
Hmm.
he's just everywhere.
Wait, no, he's in AAA.
He was working AAA and he was hanging out with Riff Raff in AAA.
I don't think
There's
I've
a
ever
video of
even
him
seen a Parker
dunking.
Boudreaux match.
Dude, he's hanging out with fucking Jelly Roll.
Yes.
How is he doing this? Okay, yeah, this guy's
No,
insane.
John, you didn't scroll enough. Parker X Riff Raff X Limp Biscuit X
Oh
Bones
my.
tomorrow in Tampa.
Dude.
August 7th, 2024. We missed out.
We missed out.
Yeah, I'll never live this down ever.
Yeah.
Oh, he still has 1 year of eligibility to go to University of UCF play football. He said,
Dude.
What a guy. What a guy.
he's like Supreme Patty if Supreme Patty took steroids.
That's crazy.
Oh my god, I completely forgot. He hosted a wrestling seminar.
He did host a wrestling seminar, yeah.
That's my biggest regret is that I wasn't there for that.
Yeah. Well,
I
What did
tried
you learn at the
hard.
Parker Boudreaux wrestling seminar, dude?
Of more than you could imagine.
dude, he just main evented a show in Alabama less than a month ago where he won a 3-on-1 handicap match.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even gotta worry about it, man. He would do such incredible things. Like, don't even sweat it.
Oh, okay. I just realized
Anyway,
how he got into Glate because I know that Glate right now they're bringing over like guys from AAA and they're bringing over Sam Adonis, and then Parker Boudreaux's like the one guy that's not in AAA that's being brought over. Well, that's incorrect. Parker Boudreaux is signed to AAA. I had no idea about that.
signed to AAA is crazy.
Yeah, he's apparently part of the roster, like full on.
Okay, I'm sorry. I think I have a new answer. It's this guy I discovered when looking through Parker Boudreaux's Twitter account. I've never seen him wrestle a single time, but he looks unbelievable. I sent a picture of him in Soldiers Assemble.
Well,
It's
I've
the
never seen him
picture of
wrestle.
the. Well, I'm sending the picture of him in the Soldiers Assemble right now. It's the picture of the tail of the tape between him and Parker Boudreaux.
Okay, let me see this.
God, why is this taking so long to send?
Super Beast. Okay, Super Beast is actually sick as
Yeah,
fuck.
Super Beast is a known guy. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
no,
wrestling Super
actually-
Beast?
Yeah, Super Beast is awesome. By the way, Ethan, Super Beast is like the longest lasting exit world champion, and that's not a joke. Like he won the belt
What?
in Japan, and he has held it for like 4 years.
Dude.
And he was supposed to defend it last year, and his flight got like delayed by 2 days, so he was not able to be on the show and defend it.
Master Fugo,
Age
bring Parker
immortal.
over.
Dude, legit. There's a connection to exit right there. Super Beast could get Parker Boudreaux in.
Dude, imagine if at an exit show, because sometimes they have like the musical openings. Imagine if Limp Bizkit did the musical opening for an exit show. The connections are there.
They're there. They are there.
We can see it happen. Wow. Anyway, my
Who's your
pick
answer,
is
Cake?
yeah, good question. My pick is I don't know, man. I don't really watch wrestlers that I know I don't like or I know are bad. I value my time too much to like willingly sit through wrestlers that I know are pretty dog. I guess I'm gonna go with Superhuman, the guy who jumps on appliances.
Yeah.
I think that's gonna be my pick.
Come on, you don't got like one wrestler that like shit, but like is really fun to watch. I'm not
Not really.
I'm not answering Will Ospreay because I hate that fucker. I'm not answering MJF because I hate that fucker. I answered Mamo Shinzaro because that guy's like I put him on in a VC and I'm like, guys, this is the funniest thing we've watched in like a month.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that a fellow like that is out there. I just they don't take up brain capacity, man.
Nah, that's fair.
Like I'm
That's
sure there's a guy who like I watch him and I go hell yeah, even though in my brain I'm like this guy gets actually kind of dog, but I just like they exist in the moment that I see them and then I forget about them the moment that they leave.
yeah. No, I understand. Well, let's take a quick break from wrestling because there's a non-wrestling question here. I think this is one of the only non-wrestling questions. Then we're gonna get into the deep into the bullshit. Uh, what's been your favorite music? Okay, this is from Craig at Ginger Puro. Uh, what's been your favorite music to drop this year, or music you just discovered this year?
Okay,
Well,
so this is a good time to mention one thing that we've been attempting to do with our friends. We've done a record club where we've all been listening to music that each other have recommended. So my favorite album from that I had not listened to before is probably going to be um God, I can't think of the name.
Ocean of
Songs to
Funk.
Scream at the Sun.
Oh, Songstream the
I have heart.
Sun. Yeah, yeah, the Nightmare pick. Yeah, God bless Nate. That album's really good.
um, my pick. I'll choose stuff that actually released this year because a lot of really good stuff has released this year. At least of what I've been looking into lately. The
Right.
stuff that I've learned through the album, the stuff that I learned through the album sharing has actually ruled. I've had a really good time with that, and I swear to Andy, truly Lord Robinson, I will get back on it. I promise you. I've fallen off the wagon, but I will listen to the albums again. Just gotta give me some time. Um, but in terms of music that I've listened to this year, there was an album called Band in Arkansas that came out this year, like just last month, and I've been listening to that like crazy. One song on it in particular, called Now That I Am Not This, is a song that I have been listening to on repeat. It's so good, and it's just a really good album altogether. There's also a new Iris Belinsky album that dropped. I didn't know who this person was until I saw them open at a local concert. But their new oh nope, that came out last year. But anyway, that album is called Healing Town, so you should listen to that as well. And then there was a really good I don't even know what the name of this genre of music is, but it's called Sutured Self by Deer Crossing. So those are three albums that I've been listening to lately that all came out either this year or last year that I've been bumping very, very, very hard.
That sounds pretty good. Yeah, I'll answer for both questions because I have things to say for both. For the one that for the question of what is something that like you discovered this year, Archers of Loaf. I had not heard them before, but I'm like my father very big into Superchunk. Always loved Superchunk. He got me into Superchunk growing up. Archers of Loaf kind of similar. They never showed me that, but I was I was hanging out with my mom, and she was like, "Hey, you'll probably like this." So she put on the album. What was it? Icky Metal. Put on Icky Metal, the debut album, and I love that album now. Like there are so many songs from that album that I love. I think Last Word is like legitimately one of my favorite songs ever now. That and that and Fat. Fat is like a 1 minute long song, but every time I listen to it, I'm like air guitaring and shit. I'm banging my head. I'm like, this is the best. Like, yeah, I love Icky Metal. I love Archers of Loaf. I need to listen to more of the North Carolina indie rock scene because like there is so much good shit from that era, just in that area. But yeah, Archers of Loaf, wonderful. In terms of stuff that's come out this year, I have two things. The one is John Sebastian Baklava the Doctor by Action Bronson. I love Action Bronson. This is and he's I will say his most recent projects I've not loved. Like I think before yeah, it was like Crocodrillo Turbo is like that's like a good album. Only for Dolphins I have fond memories of and I enjoy a lot, but I don't go back to it much. Lamb Over Rice is one of my favorite albums ever, though. So it was like that. Lamb Over Rice, one of my favorite albums ever. Then two albums that I'm not really in love with. This is like a great moving back towards the same feelings that I get from Lamb Over Ice. The song, Nourish a Thug, Splash, Sega, Citrus Wahoo, Shadow Realm, Doctor. There's so many good songs on here, especially Doctor, which Action Bronson is he's not like a fast rapper, but he usually maintains a good pace for all of his stuff. But sometimes he'll get like a really slow song, and he will thrive on those. And I think Doctor is my favorite. Either that or Vega from Only for Dolphins is like my favorite slow Bronson song. I'm happy to see these back on the same level. He's getting back to that level. And the other one, which I actually found out recently because their EP came out at the end of July, and I just saw them I recommended. It's this Japanese punk band called PK Shampoo. I don't even know what the name of the EP is. It's just on Spotify. There are 4 songs on here, but the first song feels like very Eastern Youth-esque. So I love Eastern Youth. I love a lot of the bands that are within that realm. So finding a new Japanese punk band that's kind of doing similar shit is very good. And this EP, I don't even know the name. So it's the EP that came out at the end of July. Really, really good. Love all 4 songs on it. Strongly recommend checking out PK Shampoo. So yeah, that's my musical recommendations.
I've been listening for more music to listen to, anyways, so I'm very happy to hear these.
What is your nomination, Ethan? Or did you already do it? You did already do
Best
it. I'm
album
stupid.
I listened to that came out this year pretty easily. A Lonely Sinner by Sam LRC.
It is the furry album that our good friend Corey Bailey put me onto. It's a really interesting, just prog, kind of proggy, but mostly post-rock album that I think is really interesting. It's a concept album. I don't exactly remember what the concept is. It's just kind of about a lonely furry trying to get out there in the world. And I think it's really
crazy.
well done.
What did you say it was called?
It's called A Lonely Sinner by Sam LRC. SAMLRC, all lowercase, all one word.
Badass.
Yeah.
Favorite song is probably either Flower Fields, Storage, Storage. STORGE, or Sheep Theme. The good thing is they're all 3 back to back to back on the album.
This has 6,000 reviews on Rate Your Music. I thought this was some underground thing. Why is it so popular?
Well, it was it got really, really popular for no reason.
Oh, okay. Quick interjection. The name of the EP from PK Shampoo is Shiny Things Fall from Heaven. Okay, there we go. Name. Yeah, really good name. Yeah. I also need to check out that Sam LRC album because that sounds really good. So okay, let's get into the bullshit. There's a couple questions specifically for me. Okay, from Jack Crimson at Jack Crimson Calls. For Jom, some people are claiming Tenryu is only an A-tier wrestler. Your thoughts? Okay, Jack, you're wrong, and I'm fucking hate you.
And you think this is just a Jom question? All of us are in that server.
Well, okay,
dude.
well,
we all saw you do this.
Yeah. Okay, so clarification. I'll give a little bit of context. I feel like we kind of always tried to make sure there wasn't a lot, but for this there needs to be context. Jack has made the tweet, so we got to give context. We did a server-wide tier list many moons ago. Genichiro Tenryu was on track to being on track to being a true S tier, where every single person that had sent in a tier list had him in S tier. He was going to be one of the only. It was like him and Ohio De Santo were going to be the only 2 people like that. And then Jack, just for the fun of it, he even said he was only doing it because it's funny. Put him in A tier on his list, keeping him from being a true S tier. Jack Crimson Calls, you will die.
And it will be soon.
Soon.
Very soon.
Your reckoning is coming, okay? It's been like a year, but your reckoning is coming, okay? Next up, let's go to at Foxball Whoa. Name of this person is Cake. Sources are saying John was the dumbest, stupid idiot guy in America. Is this true? Now, I'm not. Wait a minute.
I've heard that's true. I've heard that's correct.
Wait
Ethan, have you been hearing about this?
Wait a minute. Wait a minute, your name's Cake. Your name.
Ethan, you've been hearing this too, right? You've been hearing the sources, haven't
I've
you?
been hearing this. I've heard this on the street. I've seen it in the newspapers. I've seen it plastered across
newspapers.
billboards.
Dude, they've been like plugging this before movies and like the commercials and the trailers and everything. Like they've been making like public service announcements that John's the biggest, dumbest, stupidest guy. I didn't think it was true, but then I've just been seeing all over the place.
Dude,
Yeah.
okay, all right, whatever. Okay, at Respect Suwama, this is his name is Toshiaki Miwata, but if you know him as Seki.
He's not denying it.
His name is Seki. He tweeted out, "Where was Jom on 8/31/2022? I was enjoying my day. I was enjoying my day on 8/31/2022, and on 8/31/2024, I will be enjoying my day again." Okay, there you go.
Dude, I looked up that date because I was so confused what he was like trying to get at. And there's like not even like nothing happened that day.
There is something that happened that day. You can ask him about it. There is something that happened that day. But I had nothing to do with it. It's just they've been blaming me for like a year. For 2 years now. 2 years they've been blaming me. And then the final question I'm doing in this rapid fire of dumbassery. Mr. Seki Goto sent in another question saying, "Mr. Jom, and I've put the image on the board. How does this image make you feel? What are your emotions, thoughts, desires, etc.?" When I see this image, Seki, I think of you. Because this is what you look like. This is who you are. You are this freak. And that's all I gotta say about that.
Brutal.
But I'm gonna stick with Seki for a second because Seki did actually ask a good question. That I actually, this is like maybe my favorite question of them all. This is for everyone. Who's a wrestler that you loved for a long time and you could swear that they were one of the best of all time? They're one of your favorites, but after further examination, you thought the complete opposite. And what was the match that sealed the deal for your choice? This is a toughie, but
yeah, I need to think about this one.
I can give an answer immediately because I feel like I have two answers, but there's one specific answer that like will always stick with me. So I really only got into independent wrestling through highlight videos and top move videos. BDWJ in 1986 or 1987, I can't remember. He was like my gateway into the independents. I saw two top move videos that got me into independent wrestling. The first one was a top moves of Jack Evans video, which made me believe that Jack Evans was my favorite wrestler for a while, and I still love Jack Evans. And the other one was because I saw the Jack Evans one and wanted to see more of a guy that kept appearing in it, was a top 50 moves of Teddy Hart video.
Oh,
I saw that. I saw him do the heart attack. I saw him do the open heart surgery. And I swore on my heart, this had to be the best wrestler of all time.
Oh, dear.
I was a big Teddy Hart guy for a period of time. To clarify, this was like in the early to mid 2010s. So it was before it wasn't before everything had happened. He already had an awful reputation, but like it was before it was more publicly understood. I was also a kid and I didn't understand. And we had, I don't even think the criminal charges that like the big ones, I don't think those had come in yet. The ones that Chuck Taylor stared at the camera when he mentioned them.
Yep.
So I am pleading my innocence here that I just saw the moves and I was also a young kid and thought moves were like the coolest thing ever and that's all you needed. Very different ideology than I have now, but like he did crazy shit. I saw a cage match. It was him and Jack Evans against I think it was Homicide and Low-Key, or no, it was Homicide and B-Boy because it was the Strong Style Thugs. Homicide and B-Boy against Jack Evans and Teddy Hart. And I thought that was like the best match ever. As I got older, I realized that I hadn't seen much of Teddy Hart outside of that match in highlight videos. I started watching more matches and I was like, oh, he's just not really hitting. but I kind of just forgot about it and moved on. He was still a guy that I was like, Teddy Hart's awesome. I love Teddy Hart. I want to see Teddy Hart live, etc. And then eventually I got my chance in 2018 at WrestleCon, Lucha Brothers versus Teddy Hart and Jack Evans. That was in New Orleans. New Orleans is less than an hour away from me. I went to WrestleCon that year and I went to that show. That match broke the illusion because Teddy Hart in that match puts in one of the worst performances I've ever seen live, let alone ever. It is legitimately an anti-professional wrestling performance. I saw that. I saw how he was in that match, and I went, holy shit, this guy's awful. Around the same time as when I really started to understand all of the awful shit he had done. And I was like, okay, so not only is he like an awful wrestler, he's also an awful person. But that match was like a mind breaker for me of like, holy shit. It turns out that a guy that I only watch doing top 50 move videos and highlight videos, it turns out when I watch him in an actual match, he's not the best wrestler ever. He's actually awful. So sadly for me, my awful, horrible confession I have to make is that the answer to who is the wrestler I loved and then had the illusion broken is Teddy Hart. So someone else go. I don't want to talk about Teddy Hart anymore.
I have another answer that comes live.
Oh shit.
And this is one that this is a formative memory that I've just unlocked and remembered. Because I'd remembered it before, but like remembering how much I loved this guy. So I used to be the biggest Adam Cole fan in the world.
Oh shit.
I really liked Adam Cole. I thought he had everything going for him. The Bullet Club thing was so cool. He was I liked him before he got in the Bullet Club, but I was there live for the pay-per-view where he was inducted into the Bullet Club as a member.
Holy.
Wow.
So I was like, wow, this guy is... Or wait, no, I'm sorry, no. It's the opposite. Oh my god, no, it's so much worse. It's so much worse.
Okay, what
Oh, okay. All right. Calm down.
It's all right, bro. It's all right.
I saw when he got kicked out of the Bullet Club. And if you remember when he was kicked out of the Bullet Club...
I remember
Wasn't
who
there
replaced
a certain
him.
other person
I
who
remember who
joined?
replaced him.
Yep. I was there when that happened.
Whoop whoop. Oh, you saw the pedophile.
Come to think of it, that's another one.
Oh
When
no!
he put on that fucking stinker with Okada in 2018.
No.
No, but back to the Adam Cole one, because I don't want all of these people to be terrible. I want some of them to just be bad wrestling. And so Adam Cole. This was before then, so I wasn't as emotionally invested in him getting beaten up by the Young Bucks.
Right.
But I had gone to Final Battle, I'm pretty sure it was 2016.
Oh, you told me about this.
Yes. And it was him versus the only other guy I think I liked in ROH more at the time, Kyle O'Reilly, in a no disqualification match for the title. It was the first time where I had ever felt like I had been taken out of a wrestling match because I was watching Kyle O'Reilly sit under the ring for about 25 to 30 seconds blading. This was when I was just like starting to become a smart fan. So I was like, oh my god, that's what he was doing. That's what he's doing. He's blading. And I was so excited for that at that moment. But then after that, something popped in my brain and I was like, oh, they're not bleeding very much in this match that has a lot of weapons in it. Why are they not hitting each other very hard with these chairs or these trash cans? What is going on? And it was not a very good match. I expected there to be blood, to be sweat, to be tears, to be guts strewn across the ring, because that's what I had come to expect from my Ring of Honor bloody, gutty matches. But this... Oh, man. That was when the real cracks in the armor started to show. And
Let's
that is
try
why
it.
I personally felt so vindicated when he came out in that terrible Master Chief cosplay in the Adam Page match and said, "This guy is swagless."
Swagless. He has no sauce.
Dude, they took away his vibes and left him with the desert.
All he has is pasta and butter. No sauce.
Oh, that's the worst kind.
I know people who
Oh,
would go to war for some butter noodles.
Oh yeah, I would, but like cake, Cakington.
this is a
Who's your one?
this is a toughie. Well, it's not a toughie, but like it's hard because like there's the obvious answer, just choosing like a guy who's not a good person. But
Yeah.
like that feels like an easy out. But just being like, I like this guy. Then he was a bad person.
Yeah,
Now I don't
and I will
like.
say,
Yeah.
Seki added a contingency to avoid that with the "what was the match that sealed the deal" part. So
Yeah,
very explicitly,
Exactly.
it's the wrestling.
Exactly. And I've been trying to think about it. Um, because I don't think there's ever been like a big like revelation where like I'm watching one match in particular that when I see it I'm like, oh no. And like I have like this huge awakening in my heart and in my soul that this guy is not the guy I thought he was. But I do think that there are a lot of cases where like after the fact I do it. Like I don't see it for the first time. Like the first time I think it rules, but then I spend some more time away from it and I came back to it and I was like, oh, this actually doesn't rule. This is actually kind of bad. And this guy is kind of bad. And oh no. And for me, that was a lot of WWE guys because like any child who got into wrestling, they probably started with WWE. And that was my case too. My dad had a bunch of old CDs, not CDs, DVDs rather, just lying around because we didn't have cable. So all I ever
Right.
really saw was like whatever he happened to have on hand physically. And one of the big things was there was a 3 disc box set of Undertaker matches. And
Oh,
so
I know the one.
yeah, you know the one. And
I
actually I have the perfect answer to this now because the I watched that box set and like any young child, I was like, wow, this is the Undertaker. Spooky guy. He does spooky things. I love this
He's
guy. This
epic.
guy rules. Yeah, and then of course also there was growing up, I graduated from spooky guy is scary to I have internet connection now and I'm watching what culture videos that are saying that this guy's one of the goats, so he must be. And that was my next natural step of going, well, I liked him as a kid because he was spooky, scary guy. And now I like him as a child because British people said I should. And then it kind of snowballed from there. To I was like, man, Undertaker, one of the best ever. This guy rocks. And then I like had like this vision. And I think I was talking about it with John a little while ago, or just like in the egg in general, about how like at some point I like started doubting that because like I started like forming opinions for myself, or at least looking into people who then said, hey, you should form an opinion for yourself instead of just like, hey, you should just listen to me talk and then say what I say. um and that's what first got me thinking that maybe the Undertaker is not all that I cracked him up to be. And I watched some of his stuff back. I was like, yes, it wasn't as good as I remember. And if it was good, I don't necessarily think it was him. Kind of Shinzaki-esque in nature, um, or Shinzaki debate tactic-esque in nature, not actually Shinzaki-esque. Just to clarify.
Bringing out the
But
Shinzaki Gambit. I'm gonna kill you.
yeah, but it applied here though that like I watched Undertaker matches of like, well, I like parts of it, but I didn't like any part of it that he was like to blame for. But anyway, after doing this for a while, I remembered one specific match on that box set that even as like a young baby boy, sitting down on the carpet and looking up at the TV, so small I couldn't even get up on the couch because I would need help to get lifted up there. Even at this young age, for whatever reason, they had that handicap match with the Dudleys on that box set.
Oh my
Oh
And
no.
god.
and yeah, I don't know why they had that on there, but it was on there. And even at such a young age that I was so just uninterested and bored and confused and just generally like annoyed at everything that was happening. And then to top it all off, he's still like, because the match, you know what it is. Paul Bearer's
Yeah.
dying in cement.
Yeah.
And the match ends with him still burying Paul Bearer in cement anyway. And so, like, as a kid, I was like, man, he really just killed this guy for no reason.
Yeah.
And I was really upset as a child. And then, I think that was like, even way back when, that was when the first seed got planted, and the tree only festered later on in my life.
That's a great one to bring up, and I do just want to mention because it's just made me think about it. Is that ending to that match kind of the first example of that type of storytelling that has become so like not that exact story beat, but the almost I'm I'm doing something because I have to abandon part of myself, like the over dramatic, high like theatrical, like very like corny character work that has become so massive in a lot of the storytelling stuff today. Like it's not the first example, but is that like the first like very prevalent example? Because I'm thinking about it, and there is a lot of storytelling that happens today that is eerily similar in spirit to like what that one was trying to accomplish. And we all acknowledge that it was a stupid, shitty story being told. But people do not do the same with the stuff happening today, and it's fascinating. I'm only just now realizing this.
I'm
It
thinking of like
might
the
be.
higher power stuff.
Oh, higher power. Well, higher power even then was like that was a swerve, but it was less of a swerve because of like character, more a swerve because swerve.
Yeah.
And I guess with Undertaker it might have also been that, but they were trying to tell the story of he's doing it to abandon his weaknesses by killing Paul Bearer. And I don't know. I can feel that type of story being told so much nowadays, and it's just normal. But like looking back at it, something like this was so reviled and pushed back against by the fans, and now it's just a thing, and it's fucking weird.
This says a
Also,
lot
before
about
we
society.
continue, yes, it does say a lot about society. But before we continue, I must say something, Cake, because you watching that Undertaker DVD brought back some memory that I had. Because I was thinking about it, and the first guy that I took that journey with was probably either Shawn Michaels or Triple H. Because the first thing
Oh.
that I watched after that WWE documentary about the 50 greatest wrestlers ever was
Yeah,
a
I know the one.
compilation of DX matches.
I have that compilation.
And it's from
I
like
have that. I had that
2006
box set too.
onwards.
Yeah.
And like the first actual feud I watched as a wrestling fan was DX versus the Spirit Squad.
Yeah.
And I watched the first part of that almost exclusively through like the video segments that they'd run. And I thought the Spirit Squad were the deadliest group of all time.
Well, they were, dude. The fucking the 5-man tag finisher where they threw you in the air like 10 feet and you fall. That's a crazy move.
It is.
The Killers.
And then I watched oh my god, I need to watch this match again because at the time it was probably my favorite match I'd ever watched. The tag with Big Show where they stuffed Vince's ass or Vince's face into Big Show's ass.
Oh my god, dude! Wow. We should have
Yeah.
a whole episode just talking about the WWE compilation DVDs we own because I feel like all of us
Dude.
at least own
The
like at
top.
least 3.
There's also the top 50 finishers of all time. I remember that.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
that's a
The
great
top.
one.
The
Netflix
top
classic.
50. The top 50 superstars of all time. I remember pretty well because again, I watched this super young as a kid, and they brought in the Destroyer for one single clip, and they didn't use him for the rest of the entire box set, and I was always so confused about that.
Oh.
They brought
Oh,
him in,
speaking of
and
the
they had him do like
Destroyer.
they had him do like a sit down interview and everything for one of the guys, and he said like one sentence, and then that was it. That's all of the Destroyer that was on 3 discs of content, and I was like, why'd you bring him in? He said one sentence, and then that's all you used.
Wow.
I don't know why I focused on really weird things as a kid when I watched boxing. When I watched wrestling, I don't know why like child me was thinking about that, but whatever.
I think I had a. I'm trying to find it now. It was I think it was a WWE Best Pay Per View Matches of 2012 collection or something. No, it was Best Pay Per View Matches of like 20 or 2009, because this compilation had the Best Pay Per View Matches 2009 to 2010, I think, because this compilation has the DX versus Legacy Hell in a Cell, where like I think Shawn gets like locked out of the cage, or Shawn or Hunter or Hunter. Shawn or Triple H gets locked out of the cage for like half the match.
I found it. I found it.
Yeah.
I was looking for something. I have a VHS tape that I found at Value Village for $2. It's called The Glory Days of Wrestling, The Way It Was. And the matches
Wow.
involved are from the 50s and 60s. There is
Whoa.
Gorgeous George versus Jesse James, Antonio Rocco versus Johnny Valentine, the Johnny Valentine, Antonio Rocco, Miguel Perez, and Ricky Starr versus the Fabulous Kangaroos and Dr. Jerry Graham, Killer Kowalski versus Ed Carpenter, Haystack Calhoun versus Killer Brooks,
Dude.
and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers versus Pat O'Connor.
Holy.
Wowzers. That's some real wrestling right there.
That's real wrestling.
I gotta find somebody with a VHS player so I can watch this.
So I am moving away from Twitter for a second, because we actually have some questions from a friend of Cake who sent it through Discord. We have two questions from BTR. So the first question is, does commentary add anything to the match for you? If not, why not? If so, what about it? I will answer this because I have mixed feelings. I think commentary can either enhance or destroy a match. I personally do not really. Okay, so if the commentary is bad, I'd rather there not be any commentary. If the commentary is just all right, I don't care, because usually I tune it out. If the commentary is great, it's notable. That's the best way I can describe it. Is that if the commentary is like great and does a lot to add to it, I will, like TNA, early TNA with Don West and Mike Tenay. I deeply enjoy that commentary is there. I think for
Early
American wrestling,
CCW.
yeah, I think for American wrestling, commentary is kind of vital. When you get to the indies, it's not as much, but for TV wrestling in America, you need commentary. When it comes to wrestling, basically anywhere else, I don't give a fuck. I honestly slightly prefer if the commentary is not there, because it means that I get to hear the ring more, I get to hear the wrestlers more. I'm so conditioned to American television like presentation with wrestling, though, that I think when it is American television wrestling, you need commentary. If it's bad commentary, though, it will detract from a match so much. Like I hear Jerry Lawler and I tune out from a match, like just flat out. It doesn't matter if JR's there with him. Like I will tune out entirely. Um, and there are a lot of examples of that. Like fucking not just America, but Japan. I don't know what Kevin Kelly's doing nowadays. I hope he's not commentating anywhere. I think he's gone from Nuge, which is God bless the New Japan fans.
Kevin Kelly, potential worst of all time candidate.
I think
man.
okay.
Yeah.
I think he's really up there, because I watched like I remember when like the mid 2000s were going on, and like people, like whenever he first came in and started doing stuff, people liked him because he was kind of like an analyst, and they hadn't really had that in New Japan for a bit. They had Matt Striker, but fucking he's a whole other can of worms. But people like Kevin Kelly first because he was an analyst. I thought Kevin Kelly was good for a bit. Looking back, if I listened to it again, there's a solid chance I wouldn't like it. But he definitely got worse over time, and especially in the last few years of his New Japan run, legitimately like a contender for the worst commentator ever. Like actively detracted from every single match that he commentated. Seemed more interested in cracking jokes that like nobody thought was funny but him. Uh, he was just trying to entertain himself and also prove that he's like a smart guy that knows things. And it was like watching a match commentated by Kevin Kelly felt like watching a match as like somebody you don't like explains to you why the match is good or bad. And it's like, I don't want to fucking hear you right now. I want to watch the match. I want to form my own opinion. And then Kevin Kelly would just best example is everything that happened with the Kaito Kiyomiya story with like him and Okada. Like Kevin Kelly almost ruined that angle for me. The first time I saw the angle, it was commentated by Kevin Kelly because the Japanese version wasn't like online yet. And I actually did not finish it. I did not finish watching the angle because I was like, dude, I'm gonna like hate this angle and not care about it just because he's on commentary. I need to stop watching and just wait until it gets posted with the right commentary because I'm hating this and I know it's really good, but it's just I'm having to hear his fucking voice. So yeah.
Also, I think there is one person that you could argue is worse than Kevin Kelly. Funnily enough, it's another Kevin. We should keep Kevins away from the commentary booth at all times. And it is the OG Kevin Gill.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no. Okay, you know what? Kevin Gill, at his worst, is still not as bad as Kevin Kelly. I think Kevin Gill at his worst is an annoying ex-juggalo with everything that entails. Guy loves the smell of his own farts. Just would not be fun to converse with because he's like a dumbass in the not funny way, but in the genuinely frustrating way. But even then, he was commentating GCW, where if anybody could be a commentator like that and get away with it, GCW was like the one fed. Well, okay, GCW before they got really popular was the one fed because it was like a shitty indie that was very scummy, and it's like, okay, this guy kind of fits the vibe. When they started getting more popular and started doing shit like Bloodsport and stuff, it's like now the vibe is off and he doesn't fit. And GCW also just fucking, there's a lot to say about GCW, but Kevin Gill at his worst is annoying, frustrating. I don't want to hear him, but I can still find a way to enjoy the wrestling even with him commentating it. I could not do that with Kevin Kelly.
Yeah, I think for me, there's definitely commentary definitely affects it. I like sounds too much to ignore commentary ever. I've tried to tune out commentary. It's not a thing that I can do. If somebody's speaking, I would just want to hear what they're saying, if only because I'm curious what they have to say about the thing that I'm also engaging with, because I want to hear their opinions, even if they're not like real, because they're a part of the show. I still want to like hear what they have to say on the thing that we're both engaging with right now. So it's not something that I can ever turn off, and so that it affects me in a big way. Because try as I might, I cannot ignore somebody talking, and so for me, the biggest slights that I have on commentary are when somebody doesn't sound enthused or sounds the same at every point of a match. Like they either like they sound monotone, and it's either they're like consistently impressed, consistently depressed, or just consistently uncaring. Like that was a big thing about why I didn't really care for Lucha so much, and I still don't care for Lucha that much, is just because the commentators all sound they all keep the same peak, I would say. They never go crazy and they never really go quiet either, at least in the wrestling that I've experienced, because they're very, very professional. Like they're very professional and they like to maintain an atmosphere of what I have seen. And for me, I've never enjoyed that because I can't understand what they're saying, which obviously like there's no fault in that at all, but all I have to go off of is the tone, and the tone just feels like it's the same level of speaking, even if the match is amping up or changing, and it makes it feel like I'm not. It makes it feel like they're just not into it, even if they are, even if they're like going like, wow, this match is awesome. I can't hear that. And that was why Kevin Kelly was such a big problem for me, was because this guy he just had the same cadence for everything. Like Rocky Romero would be losing his freaking mind off a near fall, and Kevin Kelly would be counting the fall numbers and be like, "Dude, shut up."
Kevin Kelly would get hyped and he would go, "Whoa!"
Yeah, or another trademark example would be like in a big match Naito situation, like the final against Omega from like G127. That match rules, and if you watch like the American or the English commentary, Rocky Romero's going insane. Don Callis is going nuts, and then that asshole Kevin Kelly is just saying Destino very, very, very long. It's like, dude, shut up.
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
God, you're right. Yeah, every single fucking big Naito match, he just goes Destino. And it's like, oh
hey,
my
he sold a
God.
shirt for it too. Like, dude, you're not a marketer, you're a commentator. Be invested, so I can also be invested because I have to listen to you. And so that was a big thing that always got me. And the second thing that always got me about commentators that I never liked was people who are trying to add weight to a match that just doesn't have it there.
Yeah.
Like people who are trying to force importance onto a match that just it's not there. And Progress was a big offender of this. You watch you watch quote unquote classic Progress matches, and oh my goodness, the guys on commentary would try to just like pour buckets of lore and weight to every single match that happens. And they're like they try to read into it so much. And it's like, dude, you're not watching what you think you're watching, man. And and it just shows because like, you know, I gotta buy into it. And when you're like spitting game on there about how like I don't know, I can't give a good example, but if you've ever watched Progress, I'm sure you know exactly what I mean.
Fucking
Like
Banks versus Osprey or something.
I don't know, but it's just like yeah, just like those were always my two biggest gripes for people who sounded the same, even if they were consistently impressed by everything. I was like, okay, well, you just get happy for anything, so I don't like listening to you either. It's just like this is like anyone who's the same tone throughout an entire match and doesn't go up or down as the match continues. I don't like that. And then people who are trying to make anything sound more important, like they're trying to write an essay. I don't like that either. And again, big Kevin Kelly situation. So yeah, commentary definitely affects it for me.
Yeah.
And to go on a completely, well, to go on the completely opposite end of the spectrum, commentary can affect something positively for me, even if it's in another language, if all the commentators sound enthused to be there. That's one
Yeah.
of the big things that makes the really classic All Japan matches feel so
Yeah.
special to me.
Yeah.
Not only the crowd is going crazy, but the Habunai!
Yeah.
Every single time one of those All Japan announcers screams that, it just fills me with an adrenaline that not much else can. And another big point for commentary is when commentators like when they add the necessary levels of importance to a match. Not to make a match over important, but when a match feels important, it's good to know that the commentators are as invested as the fans. Like
Right.
one example that I can immediately think of is Team Anarchy versus the Devil's Rejects. The commentary
Right.
team, they're going to lose their job
Dude.
if Team
Yeah.
Anarchy loses.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
they are
mean.
so
Because like
invested
they
in absolutely everything.
and that's what I mean is that like their pitch changes too when they start when like Team Anarchy starts getting owned, they start getting quiet and desperate and stuff because like they're reacting to what they're seeing.
Exactly.
Like, and then when they start going up, they peek the microphone. It rules. Like that's what it's all about.
I think the
Kevin
most
Owens in
classic
PWG
example
was
is,
a great commentator in my
He
opinion.
was. Yeah.
he was. I think the
Yeah.
best example of all time, though, is Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher.
But yeah, Eddie and Punk are both incredible there. They are so,
Razak
and
is going
that goes
insane.
to the cake thing of like the investment. Like those two guys are so invested in this match, and not only because like Joe
Punk
and
is
Necro
Joe's
are their
best friend.
buddies. Yeah, Punk is Joe's best friend. Eddie is probably buddies with like both of them. Fucking, and like Punk and Eddie are also marks. And like they just love good wrestling, and this is a very obviously good match. But like they're getting so into it with like these crazy one-liners, and there's like a real flow to the way they're talking of like the ups and downs of the match are reflected by their voices. And yeah, that's an incredible commentary job from both guys. Incredible from fucking God, why can I not remember his name? He's like the best indie commentator of all time.
Dave Prazak.
Dave Prazak, yes, Dave Prazak. Fucking love Dave Prazak. Yeah,
Moonsault specialist.
incredible. Moonsault specialist.
Also
like,
owner
only,
of Shimmer.
I was about to say the only guy in the indies that liked women.
Yeah.
Like,
God, I love Dave Prazak, man.
yeah. So
Dave Prazak, my beloved.
BTR, the answer to your first question is Dave Prazak. So the second question, what are the 3 best and 3 worst venues in your opinion for any wrestling show? The way this is phrased makes it sound like it's just venue in general and not specific, but I will say specifically, I sent a list a while ago in a server of my favorite venues, not in any order, but I will say my favorite venues, 3 favorites are probably Kirk and Hall, uh, San Juan Pantizuan. I'd say San Juan Pantizuan. I was gonna say Arena Naucalpan. That's probably so badly mispronounced, but San Juan Pantizuan is my beloved. And
Both
then
of those are incorrect, by the
probably
way.
are they?
Yes, I'll get to why they're incorrect in mine.
Okay, but Kirkendall, San 1.21, and then my third is probably the Cerberus Dojo, the little gym where all the mat wrestling with Kata happened, because like it's just so like little and shitty, and the big mirror wall and everything. It's probably because I've just seen it so much, but that venue feels like home to me, so it's got to be one of my favorites. In terms of my least favorite venues, though, it's like, God, I don't know. Are there any notably like bad Okay, the arena where fucking the GCW 24-hour like show, or like the 24-hour show special thing they did, that venue, uh, I just don't like it because of the events that happen there. It's like a cursed arena, and I don't want to see any wrestling happen there ever again. Um, but besides that, like, I can't I can't really think of. Oh, okay, you know what? The the Thunderdome for WWE. I think it's a really funny venue, but there's something so spiritually wrong about it that I hate it. Like
It's evil.
I'd rather there just be nobody there than the
I'd rather just
screens.
not be wrestling.
Yeah, I'd rather there not be wrestling. It was
Yeah.
fucking COVID and everything, but like the screens and everything feels so dystopian to me. I'm like, this is a bad future for wrestling, and I'm so glad it went away when it went away as soon as it could. I mean, I'm not happy that fans came back,
Yeah.
but the Thunderdome just like again, it was funny. It was a really funny thing to see it, and like the things people would do on the screens were funny sometimes. Like also, FaceTime crowd just does not make me happy. Like it actively put me off so bad, and I think they still had like piped in crowd noise, and it was like
It was terrible, man.
It was legitimately like people talk about how bad the era is, but they just talk about the era in general. I don't think enough people mention specifically the Thunderdome did so much to kill it, and I already hate the Fed, but that Thunderdome, I saw that and I was like, if this is the direction wrestling goes in, I'm tapping out. Like this is awful. So that's the one venue I can give an honest to God answer to about worst.
Yeah,
I can give an answer
for
to the
me.
worst and the best
Oh.
in one.
Oh,
What's that, Ethan?
The best is Hammerstein Ballroom pre-renovation.
yeah.
The worst is Hammerstein Ballroom post-renovation. And I say Hammerstein Ballroom pre-renovation is the best because I went there to a bunch of ROH shows. It was such a fun venue. The area is so open. They had so many just like ridiculously opulent designs on the walls and the sides of the building. It looked like an old school ballroom in the best possible way. It's like they took something from the Art Deco era, transplanted it into modern day, and said, hey, you're going to be hosting wrestling venues from now on. Got it? Got it. And now it's a fucking soulless gray hunk of metal and concrete. It's
That's
awful.
brutal.
That's very fair.
It's disgusting. I watched that GCW show, probably one of the worst wrestling shows I've experienced, like, watching live. And I just saw the venue that I love lose all of its sense of originality and uniqueness right before my very eyes. And it was like, I don't know what to describe it. It was like watching your favorite athlete retire or something.
Wow, that's brutal. I'm sorry, Ethan.
It's the worst. Because the area is also the best. There's a Five Guys right across the street, and I would go back when Five Guys were like $6 for a burger instead of $10-15 they are now.
Dude. Yeah, they put your pro wrestling dog down in front of your
They
eyes.
did.
That's awful.
Jeez. What about your other? What's your other
Oh
two
yes,
picks? Then?
yes. The reason that you were wrong on the 2 Mexican venues, John, is because it's Coacalco.
It's Coacalco. I know you're gonna say Coacalco. I fucking everybody says Coacalco. I don't agree. It's like it's a cool venue. I don't. It does. I don't agree. It's just I don't think it has the vibes that other people think it does. I'm sorry. I just don't see the vision there.
I just like the way that when it rains, the little pitter patter on the roof. That
Okay,
just
that
makes
is
me very
true.
happy. That's
That is
He's
true.
got you there.
sensorily
He's
is
got
very,
you there.
very important to
He's
me.
got me there.
And also, it just, I don't know, it has a nice combination of colors that's very visually appealing to me. And the shows all take place during the day, which is nice. And then Hurricane is the obvious correct answer for Japan, but I think I'm gonna go with the arena, the Yokohama Red Brick Arena, where they held. I think that's where they held most of the Futen shows. Because that arena, from what I can tell, it's just like a tiny little place, but it's so cool. We barely see any of it, which is my favorite part.
I think for my picks, I'm going to say, Corrigan. Obviously, there's just no real way around that. It's Corrigan Hall is my favorite. Um, as much as I just dunked on Progress, I actually really like the Electric Ballroom as a venue. I don't know why, but there's something about that venue. The acoustics in that venue are so good. Like when Walter won the title off of Evil Guy, which doesn't narrow it down.
John
That
Klinger?
the one of the Evil Guys. No, not the WXW venue. Like the Progress
Oh,
venue.
yeah.
But when Walter won that title, oh my god, it was so loud. I love the acoustics of that room. So the Electric Ballroom is my pick. It looks unique. I like the fact that it's the same place every single time, and also that it just has really good acoustics. My third pick is I really like venues that are um relatively small, and they don't look like arenas. Like I don't like stuff that looks like an arena. I like stuff that looks like a room with people in it. That's why I think I liked.
Yeah.
That's why I like the Electric Ballroom so much, and Korakuen I guess is the exception because just let me look at the thing. So I
Yeah.
guess I'll say the American Legion for PWG. I really like the American Legion.
Great shout.
Yeah.
And for the three worst, kind of sticking with the spirit, the Thunderdome, of course, is just spiritually incorrect. The Globe Theater is number 2 for
I
the
was gonna
same
mention
reasons.
Globe. Yeah.
I cannot respect it after knowing what it's following up. It just isn't right. It just doesn't feel right at all. So the Globe Theater's number 2. Um, number three, I guess we will say is Full Sail because of the crowd it attracts.
Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, well, yeah. If we want to talk about the crowded tracks, I'm putting Electric Ballroom at like number 3 for me. fucking, fucking the WXW arena is number 1.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
true. The
no.
WXW crowd is terrible.
Dude, I
Wait.
legitimately like I said earlier, I legitimately hate them like so much. Like they're not
I have one.
they are even worse than the Progress and the other British fans that are like just
They react to
like
nothing, man.
they react to nothing and they just entertain themselves. And it's
Yes.
They
like
react to just absolutely nothing. There's like actually some pretty good WXW matches that when I watch them back, I feel like they're not as good as they really are because of just how little anyone cares in that room.
yeah.
I have one
But yeah, I
more
guess those are my
arena to
picks.
mention positively because I was watching
Oh.
matches from it. It's I don't remember the name of it, but it's where Daniel Makabe versus Alex Shelley happened. They have all those really cool neon lights on the roof.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, what is that called? I know what you're talking about.
Also,
no
shout out
idea of
to
the
another
name.
company that we've mentioned already, Rise Wrestling.
Oh,
Let's
yeah,
go.
the abandoned mall, yeah.
We just returned to the
Liminal
barn
space.
too.
Yeah, they have a barn and back
Oh,
rooms at Liminal Space.
dude, yeah, the barn is so awesome with the big fan.
Yeah, we just went back there actually, which is
That's
pretty
so
pretty
sick.
awesome.
So, Yeah, no, great venue talk. Next up, from let me see. There's a few more questions left. This is from Corey of Corey B2BA is the best in the world cast. Lovely Corey.
Scramcast
Also,
alumni.
originally from Scramcast. Originally from Scramcast.
drafted the best in the world cast.
Best in the world cast is
Already-
like his offshoot promotion.
Already mentioned in this episode.
Yeah. So he says, what cartoon characters would translate the best professional wrestling? Immediate answer is Popeye, because he had fighting spirit. Like, you can't.
You could have fighting spirit, but there's something more important than fighting spirit when you're wrestling, and that's selling. And that's why when we were talking about Cameron Cohog, this is who I was thinking of. Peter Griffin.
Oh, yeah.
The man with the greatest death pose of all time.
Big
Yeah.
Pete. I'm going with Pekka Hoshino from Ping Pong, actually. I think he would be an amazing ace figure, in my personal opinion. I don't know if that counts, but he'd be an awesome ace figure. He'd get owned too. He'd have a good underdog story first before he reaches the top.
I mean, if we're including anime, I feel like Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball is like another easy answer. And I know he's basically just Hulk Hogan. Like they give him like a fake Hulk Hogan voice in the English dub, but like, come on, Mr. Satan has he's such a good promo, and he knows how to throw such a great worked punch. He would be a killer.
How do you know he throws a good worked punch?
Well, because nobody ever sells it in Dragon Ball.
Oh, well, I guess you're onto something then.
Yeah.
In terms of actual cartoons, American cartoons, oh no, I had an answer, but then my brain just told me the Angry Birds, and now I can't get that out.
Is that like the Spirit Squad, the ants from Chikara? The Angry Birds.
I had an answer, but then my brain was like, what if the Angry Birds got into wrestling?
Oh, I have a great answer. Put Chucky from the Rugrats in the Minis division.
Oh man.
Dude.
Single D from Ed, Edd and Eddy.
Yes, Single D. Yeah. He would be great against Kobashi.
Eddie would be a great
as a tag team with
tank.
Makoto Hashi.
Yeah. Well, I think actually all of them would be good. Like I think Eddie would be like a great Yoshinari Ogawa figure.
Very much so.
Who's the one who carries around Plank? What's his name?
Fuck. Oh my god.
Hardcore icon.
Yeah, what is his name?
I'm looking it up right now.
I can't remember. I was gonna say Rolf would probably be a really good wrestler too. Like
Rolf would be our Haystacks Calhoun.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
Oh, the three punk girls are already Damage Control.
It's just Damage Control. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot of really wonderful cartoon characters that would translate to wrestling, but I think actually the answer is the entire cast of Ed, Edd and Eddy. They'd all be good.
Yes.
They would make their entire fed.
There's also an evil version of Cosmo and Wanda in wrestling already. LCO.
Yes. LCO. Yeah. So I'm looking throughout this. Okay, Jack Crimson, we're gonna bring him back after his fucking Genichiro Tenryu question. He has an actual question. And I think we've talked about this before, but I don't know if we ever talked about it on the podcast. And I'm gonna add an extra stipulation to this. So, who is a wrestler that you believe would have been a standout in a different era of wrestling, and which era would it be? I'm going to add on because I think this is what he's implying here. Who is a wrestler that you think would be better in a different era? Like they would be more successful and they would have a better career that stand out more in a different era than like the one that they were in. You know, which era?
Consult. One moment. I gotta pull up one specific thing that I'm looking for.
Yeah, it's a hard question because
I found what I was looking for. I was going to consult my drafting from when we did the 1980s Puerto Rico scene because there was a lot of answers that I chose there that I do think they would be better fits for that time period.
Right.
Specifically 1980s Puerto Rico. That's the big one. Um, issue is like most of the guys who I thought, oh yeah, those guys would go so hard in Puerto Rico were already people who wrestled in the 80s, so I can't like take them out of the era that they're already in. Um, however, however, the guy I drafted from the 90s, I really think that the Big Boss Man would have gone crazy in 1980s Puerto Rico. I've
Oh
been
my
thinking about that
god.
I've been thinking about that ever since I drafted him. Like he would go so nuts, especially if he still
Take
kept
him
the
out
cop
of the
thing.
UWF.
Who?
What?
Oh no, he was in the UWF at some point in the very late 80s, I think.
Big Boss
Wow.
Man? Oh, you
Big
okay?
Bubba Rogers.
You're talking about American UWF.
Yes.
Dude, for a second I thought you were talking about like UWFI, dude. I was like,
Yes.
what are you, Big Bubba Rogers versus fucking Masahito Kakihara? I didn't know that happened.
Yeah, my
Dude,
mind
that'd be
almost
amazing.
melted.
That'd be crazy. Wow. Yeah, Big Bossman is a wonderful answer. I think he would do really, really great there. Um, God, I'm trying to think because I'm like I added the stipulation. I'm really not sure who's a guy that would be better somewhere else. Um, this is predictive. I'm kind of making a prediction here that I don't think he's going to get as many flowers as he should when the time comes when his career ends. I think Mad Dog Connolly theoretically would be so more successful in like the 90s in most places. Like in Japan, in Mexico, and Puerto Rico, I think if he was anywhere else than where he is now, he'd be getting more success because he has a lot of the intangibles that people at that time were looking for. And
Are you
he
kidding
does a
me?
lot of stuff that people would be more into at that time. And right now he's not, like, he's getting a ton of opportunities. He's going to DPW soon. And I think he's probably going to get opportunities on a big stage eventually. But like the big, like, for his career, how it's been going, he would have gotten the opportunities already if he was in like Puerto Rico.
That's very true. I would have put Mad Dog in like the 80s Memphis scene, but there are already enough Mad Dogs going around at that time that he wouldn't
Yeah.
necessarily stand out as much as he would in the 90s.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna pick a guy that Mad Dog wrestled very famously, very recently.
Whoever could it be?
Ooh.
I would put Demus in the 90s Wing FMW IWA Japan scene.
Oh shit. Okay. All right. All right. Yeah. Put him in
Because I
the.
feel like Demus
Yeah.
is he is very much, he feels like a wrestler kind of out of his time. Because so much, even in the grimier Mexican arenas, so much has been, there have been so many rules put in place for wrestling. There are so many things that you can't do nowadays that you would have been able to do in IWA Japan. And they also have a much bigger budget to be able to do wacky bullshit like setting part of the ring on fire or exploding ropes. And I think
Yeah.
Demus would adapt really well to those sorts of situations because he's a fantastic brawler, but he also has some really good, just like standard wrestling in his arsenal. And I
Right.
think that combination would be really interesting in an IWA Japan FMW wing sort of setting, especially in those outdoor venues. He would
Yeah.
look so crazy. Just a tiny little meatball jumping off of it's like a 20-foot thing.
Damn,
Blue
Meatball
sky
Demus
behind
is
him.
crazy. So,
Oh,
I think we're down to our last two questions. These are both from Darius the Michael at Blackerot47 on Twitter. Uh, I'm gonna go with this one first because I don't have an answer that I think I have an answer that he's not gonna like. For someone who doesn't like WWE or how they present wrestling, what kind of stuff from them actually stands out to you in positive ways? This actually has a response from Cameron Hoodsood who says, "I hope they don't answer this one," and then Darius responds, "I hope you die." So our Q&A was causing conflicts, but
Based.
what? So I I'm gonna let you guys answer first for because I don't know, I know none of us are not particularly fans of the Fed. Um, what is something that stands out to you as positive from what they're doing right now, if there is something?
First of all, to Cameron Hootsuit, you're a coward for responding to that, but not actually posting the question.
Yeah,
And
Cameron, you saw the tweet. You said you had nothing to say though. You're a
yeah,
bitch,
you
and I know you're
you
gonna
will be
listen to this.
yeah, you will be shot at dawn.
Yeah.
But regardless of that, I think one thing that they're doing right now, I don't know, man. I'm not I'm not tapped in on it because why would I be? Um, they have Charlie Dempsey on the roster, and he's probably doing good things. So, I guess I'll say the concept of Charlie Dempsey is probably pretty good right now. And also, actually, one good thing that I do like that they're doing, although I know that it will probably lead to inevitable tragedy, so maybe it's not a good thing, is that they are working with other promotions now. Like they're
Oh.
sending people over to Impact and to Noah and to GCW, which, as of right now, is cool. But given what happened to Britain, time will tell. Because it may be cool right now, but you have no idea what's in store depending on where this goes.
Yeah.
So that's an honorary, a trepidatious mention that I do like the fact that they're sending guys to work in these other places and you can see them in an element that isn't just the WWE. But given Big H's track record, I'm not that hopeful as to where it might lead.
Yeah. Ethan, you got an answer?
I have a few answers. So the things that I like about WWE, I thought this was in general, so I'm going to give my general answer and then my right now answer, but my in general answer is when they're either doing things the most like themselves, like in the goofiest, most over the top, ridiculous way possible, a la Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville, or when they're
Oh
doing
yeah.
something the absolute least like themselves, when they're doing something bloody, violent, hateful, like let me think, like Lesnar versus Cena SummerSlam 2014.
Yeah.
But for right now, I really like that while they do have a bunch of really annoying flip guys on their roster who do monologue pro far more than I'd like. I like that they're also focusing on limited big guys like Obafemi. I think, and the Creed brothers. I think those are something that have kind of gone out of style in modern wrestling for the more is more philosophy, which I cannot stand. And I believe we should have more big men in wrestling who wrestle like big men. The PWGification, the Donovan Dijackification of the big men in wrestling is something that I think we should steer away from. And we should
Yeah.
only have the smallest, most agile people whose knees are made of the most rubber doing the things that would require your knees to be made of rubber, and have the big guys do things that would require big guys to do. And I'm glad
Yeah.
that they're sending people back to their roots. I think Obafemi could be a really fun guy to watch in the near future. I hope he gets to work with Sami Zayn.
Yeah. So I will give my answer now, and I will say the big men point. I partially agree with that. The point about them doing things with the promotions outside of themselves, like going to the American Indies and going to Japan and TNA. And I don't want to be a I don't want to be a buzzkill. Because there are people that are having fun with this, and I saw that one dude that they sent to Noah along with Josh Briggs, who immediately injured Kotoge, which is fucking incredible. The other guy that they sent with him looks like he's actually pretty sick, and he's doing some cool stuff, and he probably wouldn't be able to wrestle like this if he was not in Noah. At the same time, I fucking hate it. I hate it so much because I still remember the investors meeting where Triple H put a big map on the board
Yeah,
with
the NXT worldwide. And
NXT logos on a bunch of different countries, including Japan, including like everywhere. Like, I still remember that. I still remember that the WWE signed Kendo Kashin, Hideki Suzuki, and almost signed Yuki Ishikawa as coaches. They were not signing them to be coaches in Florida. That's where they ended up because of the pandemic. But they were signing 3 Japanese technicians at the exact same time, immediately after that conference, like big conference. It does not take a fucking genius to figure out what they were planning to do. They were planning to open up NXT Japan and have those 3 guys be the coaches there. Like, it does not take a genius to know that. It does not take a genius to know that they have always been planning this, that Triple H has always been planning for this, and it's taken a couple of years, but I think these are the first steps. I think
Yeah,
these
that's
are
exactly what I mean.
like
Like,
they wouldn't do this if it was not beneficial to them. And I don't think they care that much about having whoever the fuck that guy is in the N1. Like, I don't think they don't like Noah that much. They don't.
yeah.
Like, it is a net negative. It will be a net negative. I swear to God, unless Noah cuts it off early, it will be a net negative for the Japanese wrestling scene. It will be a net negative for the American independents. It's going to be a net negative. It's already a net negative for TNA, apparently, because they're losing some of their top guys who are working NXT more, and they're getting, like, the nobody mid-carders from NXT that people don't care about in TNA. Like, I'm already, like, I saw posts about it. Like, already it's like, holy shit, this might have, like, that's why, what's his face left? The guy that's been leading it for, like, Scott D'Amore. That's apparently, the rumors are that's why he left, because he knew that's what was going to happen, and it's happening. So, like, what's going to happen in Japan in a year? Like, we all know, like, if you really think about it, fucking the WWE does not want to put on good wrestling. They
No.
don't
Yeah.
care. It's
That's why
a tactic. So
I said I was so trepidatious about it, because, like, on paper it is very cool to see in the moment
Yeah.
that it is presently happening, which
Yes,
is the
yes.
question. In this exact right now point in time, pretty awesome. But in the future, it will not be, I don't think.
No, I guess again in the moment it's a cool oddity, but I will say just about WWE in general, my answer to the question as a whole is I really don't have something. And I learned this because I recently isn't when it happened. Recently watched Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. Because they put the whole match on YouTube and I saw people talking about it. I was like, okay, Chad Gable was sick from the clips I've seen. I was an NXT watcher when he was teaming with I don't remember who he was teaming with, but it was when Jason Jordan was teaming with Ty Dillinger, and Chad Gable was just like starting to appear, and then American Alpha formed soon after that. Like, I was watching NXT when that happened. I was a Chad Gable guy. He's been looking like a cool wrestler since then. Sami Zayn, divisive amongst my friend group, but I've always had a soft spot for Sami Zayn. And like I was like, okay, these 2 guys are cool. Apparently they got to work like a really good match. And I watched it. And this is specifically talking about WWE and how they present wrestling. And I will say, the actual content of the match seemed like it was good. But I didn't like the match. And I feel like I should have, because if that match happened in like anywhere else, or that match happened under different circumstances or whatever, like, I would have liked it. I would have been like, yeah, this is cool, because the actual wrestling in it was seemingly good. The style I did not super love, because it was still WWE. It was like modern WWE television wrestling, which I don't fuck with usually, but it was like those 2 guys. My biggest thing is that I hate the product of WWE. I hate the way they produce wrestling. I hate the way the crowds react, which is they don't react. The crowd for that match, it's like the thing with the commentary where it's like a monotone, and there's no change, there's nothing. That's the WWE crowd. There is no change. There's a constant buzz of noise, and that might be crowd noise that has been piped in. That might just be the crowds. I think it is just the crowds, and I think if they were piping it in, they'd make it more exciting. It's just a constant buzz that really does not change besides slight bumps in the road.
I think it's
And
because, like, everyone in the crowd is busy, like, conversing amongst themselves. Like, that's just the
yeah,
sound of idle chatter as opposed to, like, a fan who's invested.
yeah, I just and just there's such a hollowness to the product. Like, everything that happens feels so hollow and one like just blank, or like surface level. There's nothing really deeper. It is wrestling that has been made for TV with no real intention. It just feels so empty and worthless to me. And like, I know other people do not feel the same. And I probably am coming off as like a fucking anti-Fed, nerd who loves AEW. I don't fucking like AEW either. Just to be very clear, I've not watched a single episode of AEW TV because I don't really fuck with them. But I just something about the WWE production is so off-putting to me in a way that I can't even really put into words. Where it just feels like a wrestling ghost town, like wrestling that has been separated from the spirit of wrestling itself. It is a product to be sold. It is not something to have care, and I don't like it. And fucking everything about the business in WWE is so scary and corporate and capitalist and like puts me off. Like that's the whole thing with them expanding. Like I just this is really just me getting on my soapbox and saying, man, I have tried watching the matches that people recommend that people go, oh, the wrestling is really good. And I can't enjoy the wrestling because it's WWE. Like I can't stand up. Can't stand up for WWE, man. They're the problem.
It's just how it is. That's just how it is.
And last question from Darius the Michael. And I think this is just a good one to end on. Does talking about wrestling in a format like this impact how you watch it casually? And
Nope.
yeah, I'll say no. It's like
No.
when I get on the podcast, it's like a switch flips in my brain that like I can talk kind of a more like I can put more like thought into what I'm saying and have more of a crafted point. But like when I watch wrestling on my own, a lot of the time I'm just enjoying it. Like I don't let myself think like this. I don't let myself think more critically. Like it happens just naturally, but like it's not. It's like I put a game face on when I get in the podcast sometimes. I'm like, oh, I should take down notes with a little bit more intent. But like when I'm on my own, I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah. I think about all the time. I forgot whether it was like I think it was a Reddit post. I don't remember, but it was like just like this weird post about how a guy had a friend who watched movies, and the way that's the post. A guy had a friend who watched the movies. But no, a guy had a friend who watched movies, and the way that they would watch the movies is he would have a empty page on a notebook out, and he would write the number 100 on the first line of the page. Then every single time he found an inconsistency, he would mark that out, and then he'd write 99. And he'd mark that out and write 98, and so on and so forth. The way that he determined whether or not a movie was good was whatever number he had by the time it concluded.
Holy shit.
I've thought about that ever since I've read it, because I don't think that anyone beyond this freak would ever intentionally do that. But I do think that there is a culture among people who like art, but art like in the paint of enjoying art, that like just maybe almost subconsciously want to say that they like the best kind of art. And they want to say that they like the objective pinnacle of the art form. So in their brain, I think they do have that 100 counter. And whether they really want to or not, they're trying to get invested. Their first takeaway of watching a movie is going to be, oh, the cinematography ruled, the acting was very on point, the script writing was so tight. Like that's where like the script economy phrase that came around from the Marvel thing. Like a guy said that Thanos was better writing than Pulp Fiction because they used less words, so it was good script economy. It's just like that line of it's just that line of where you try so hard to be as factually right in what you call good that I don't think you inherently like it anymore after a point. You just like you become a data machine for the thing that you liked. And for a while I was like that. Not intentionally, like I said, it was just kind of like a thing that happened. Because I wanted to say that I liked good stuff, and I wanted to say that I liked stuff that was good, and I need to prove it. And the only way to prove anything is with hard numbers and code. But then I matured, and I was like, well, it doesn't really matter if I need to prove that what I like was good. If I think it was good, then I'll find a way to say that. I don't need to worry about that as it's happening. It'll come to me because I like it. And anything that I like, I probably have a reason for it. I just gotta think about it some more, so I don't need to put this much thought into it as it's happening. So yeah, I wouldn't say the podcast has affected me at all, because watching stuff in this instance and watching stuff in my normal life is exactly the same. I enjoy it, and if I like it or even if I don't like it, The reasons why I think they become apparent through talking to the homies or just through thinking on my own. So I definitely wouldn't say it affected anything. And
Oh yeah, I
Ethan,
don't think the podcast has altered the way I watch wrestling. I've always kind of sort of been like this. Not necessarily like all the way breaking down a match with like every time I watch it, but if I just sit back and watch a match, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is awesome. I really like that." But if I want to put some more thought into something, I'll just kind of I don't know. It feels like it's a process in my brain that if I just watch a match, I can just go, "Oh, I like this, that, and the other about it. I thought it was really cool." But if I think about it in a little bit more detail and try to examine, like you said, Cake, exactly what aspects about it I like, or why I like it, maybe not even what aspects of it I like, what aspects of it interest me, and why do these aspects interest me? I think just examining that stuff is always really interesting. So it's not that the podcast changed how I view or talk about wrestling. It's that it's given me a way to kind of examine how I view and talk about wrestling.
Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
that's
It's given a
kind
good
of
it's
close
given a
to
good excuse to just yap about it, which is always
yeah.
welcome.
Exactly.
Yeah, listen, I enjoy a good yap session, and this has given me many opportunities to have one. So yeah, that is the Q&A. We spent a hell of a long time on that, but luckily, I don't think the match that we're going to be talking about is.
Yeah,
I think that one
that was
honestly is such an easy one to talk about. That's not going to be like we're going to be going 4 hours. But
No.
yeah,
yeah,
no,
we've
it
gone
was.
2 already.
Yeah, we've already gone
Yeah.
2, but yeah, great questions. I'd say we'll do another of these when we hit episode 40, but depending on how many questions we have, probably not. So yeah, good Q&A. Woo! So yeah, let's talk about Tenryu Kenta.
Do we have to?
I guess we gotta. That match is awesome. That match is
Before we talk about
awesome.
Tenryu Kenta, I think we should talk about the context in which we watched Tenryu Kenta. Because
Yes.
if any of you have ever taken a critical media studies class at any point in your collegiate careers, you have probably read the work of one man named Marshall McLuhan. Marshall McLuhan is one of the foremost media studies scholars in US history. He was one of the people who he was the person who coined one of the most important terms in the way that we consume movies, TV shows, books, wrestling, absolutely anything. The
Yeah.
medium is the message. And the medium is the message basically boils down to the way you watch or consume something inherently influences your opinion or outlook or analysis of that work. And this is the match that I wanted to bring it up in because the way that we watched this match, the first time that we watched it, was the impetus for us creating this podcast.
Yeah.
And the way
It
that we
was the
watched that match
catalyst.
originally was I was just on a VC with the guys, putting on some fun wrestling, and I decided, hey, why don't I put on a classic pro wrestling match in Genichiro Tenryu versus Kenta? And I want to put on some music in the background to see if that would make the match even funnier. And the
That's actually not
music
what
I
happened.
selected.
I hate to. You're performing a gaslighting technique because I have it recorded. I have the
Yeah.
Oh,
full
you do?
watching recorded on YouTube. And the
You're
way that
caught.
it happened, yeah, the way that it happened, just to clarify, was it was everybody. We were all together. It was like you, me, Nate, CL, John, just a whole bunch of people. And we were planning on watching Kenta versus Tenryu. That's very true. The reason that we delayed watching it was because that was the night that Cody gave up his Rumble win to The Rock.
Oh,
And
Yes.
yes! Yes, it
right,
was!
yes, right before we hit play, somebody brought that up, and we spent like 20 minutes dunking on Cody for his dumb decision. And it got to the point where we just started rambling about Cody and The Rock and about WWE. And I think at that point you were like, okay, I don't think we're gonna watch this match anymore. So then you put on Funkytown as like a background track to us talking. And then I forgot who it was, but somebody mentioned it and mentioned that you were playing it because they were like, "Whoa, I thought we were watching Tenryu versus Kenta." And then that's when the gears turned, and collectively we all had the same realization of what we could do in this situation.
That was Hutsu.
That's
That was
true.
I think that was Cam. I think that was Cam that mentioned it. I think he was there, and I think he was the one that brought it up. If memory serves,
He was
correctly.
not there. You're making that up, actually.
I'm making that up. It might have been
Yeah.
me. It might have been me then. I thought Cam
It
was
was
there for some reason.
It might have been you. I don't know, but it was somebody. And
Because
the
I know,
point is,
I think. Okay, I'm fairly certain that I was the one streaming the match, and I was the one playing Funkytown. Because at this point, Ethan's internet was shit, and we could not
Yeah.
trust him to stream things. But I had the most reliable streaming, so I was definitely the one. I was streaming it. I think Ethan was the one that told me to put on Funkytown.
Funkytown. We still haven't played the match, by the way. We're just playing Funkytown.
Let's listen to Funkytown while we watch Tenryu versus Kenta.
just turn off the match audio and
One time in a call,
let's do
I
that.
watched
Let's do that.
Kento versus I think Nakajima, the first
Right.
one that they did, and in the background we had Kanye West and Jay-Z playing
Paris. Right?
Yeah, playing in Paris 11 times. The best
11 times.
fellas in Paris.
This is the new MV. This is the new MV. This is the match highlight MV.
After this,
that was perfect.
Ethan, after this, do you think you could pop on my favorite? I'll send you my favorite wrestling MV.
Oh,
I'm gonna show you. This is not a joke, but this is legit Kino. Or I could send you Sasuke Obama.
I was going to say this is Obama.
The Sasuke Obama Uchiha.
That's like the hardest I've laughed in any VC. Everyone Dylan fucking like died in VC one.
There we go.
Here we go.
Yes, music.
I gotta move on.
So
I have to move on.
I think you're right. But the point was, when we all realized collectively how long we had spent, we all went, okay, we should probably watch the match now. But Funkytown was already playing, so we just decided to ride with it. And we muted the match. There was actually no audio coming from the match at all. It was just Funkytown the entire time. For me, this was the first time I'd ever watched Tenryu versus Kenta.
Oh my god.
I didn't know that.
For me, this was the inaugural viewing of that match, which has only solidified it as one of the best matches I've ever seen, and ramps it up very quickly given the context and just given the situation that we were in. If you, the listener, would like really quickly to pause this, the match itself is only like about 11 minutes,
Yes.
if that.
Including the
You
entrances.
can pause it. Yep, you can pause it, put it on mute, play Funkytown in the background, and you can undergo this situation as well because it was one of the most life-affirming situations that I personally have ever been involved in.
And
I will have to, Ethan. I'll have to send you the screen recording so you could cut a clip out of when it first started, and we're all
Yes.
like losing our mind.
Please, you
Because
have to include that in the podcast.
I
You
was
have
I
to.
was crying. CL mentioned that he couldn't see because he was crying too hard.
Yes.
He couldn't even see the match
Well,
after a point.
Because like it just pure luck. 'Cause it actually didn't happen all the way this time, but somehow
That's what I was
when
about to
we
mention.
did it,
I was about to
yeah,
mention.
when we played it originally, and this is the point I'm gonna bring up too later. When we played it originally, somehow like the beats of the song matched perfectly with every single hit in the match.
Yeah.
Like I think there's a point when they do the talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, and then it goes to the da 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 da. Like the da da da
Does
da
that?
da starts with the Tenryu punt kick, like
Yeah.
perfect timing, and I
It's
like
like right when he
almost
evades it and just cuts him down.
yes,
Yeah.
I almost pissed myself at that. I couldn't handle it.
Dude.
I'm going to make a disclaimer on Cake's statement that once we find the footage, we will tell you exactly what time to start Funkytown and what time to start
Yeah.
Tenryu Kenta, because if you start Funkytown at 000 on Tenryu Kenta, it will not give you the same effect. We learned that the hard
No.
way this time.
Yeah,
No,
it happened when we did it originally. It legitimately just happened naturally. The song was already playing. Like
It was also there was a period after a point where we realized that the song was going to end. No, that the song was going to end before the match did, so we had to restart it. But then we realized that the match would end before the song ended, so we had to play the song at 1.5 speed.
yeah.
And I do recall that part got me really good because it was right when Tenryu picked up the hammer, and it sounded like the Super Mario noise when he goes invincible. And I thought of like that,
Yes.
like that part of the Mario games where he's just like whacking the hammer down over and over. That's exactly
And
what I
also,
thought of.
I had a very similar experience watching the match this time because, as John mentioned, my internet is so fucky that sometimes the match will just like pause for a second and then it'll resume. But my internet is so bad that when it resumes, it tries to catch up with the audio that it was playing before. So Funkytown was playing at 1.5 speed, 1.2 speed, 0.75 speed, 0.5 speed at random intervals during this watch through for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like I was going insane.
I think I have a few points with this, and I will just say we're not going to be able to talk about this match as it is, on its own, because we're specifically talking about the experience of Funkytowning the match. I will say about the matches on its own, though, I have it as a top 50 all time. I think it is basically the perfect match for what they were going for. I think arguably, like I don't do star ratings, it's probably a 5-er for me though. It is a perfect execution of the plucky underdog young guy versus the dominating former top guy. Like everything about it is perfect. Tenryu is on point. This is probably his best performance of the 2000s. This is one of Kenta's best performances ever. Even if he just dies the whole time, Kenta is an incredible seller when it comes to like ragdolling and stumbling around, and he gets his mouth busted open, and like you can see the blood leaking out and like onto like his wrist tape. Like it's an incredible performance from him, incredible performance from Tenryu. If you are looking to like, if you want to see what these wrestlers represent, not only during this era but really as a whole, this is a great introduction piece for Tenryu. This is a great introduction piece for Kenta. So
Ethan,
yes,
post a
match
clip
as a
of
whole, yeah.
Ethan, post a clip of Jom's graduation thesis about this match.
Oh my god. Oh yeah. Oh my. It wasn't my. It was my. It was
Yeah, I
my
don't know what it
thesis
was.
for my. It was actually my freshman year. I had to do a thesis for one of my
Mhm.
classes, and I wrote about professional wrestling in the passage of time, and I got my professor to let me do a video essay instead of a paper because I didn't feel like doing a paper, so I just wrote a script, sent the script in, and then sent him the video essay. Um, I'm sad that I took the video down because the video had a bunch of comments on it. Like I think Ethan commented on it, and like I didn't even know him at the time, but I deleted the video in fear like a year later
Oh,
because I
no.
realized my shoot name was on it, and I was like, oh, I don't like this being out there because I had to put my shoot name on it to prove to my professor that I was the one uploading it.
Right.
And I deleted it and re-uploaded it with the name covered. But yeah, I do not personally enjoy writing that type of work anymore because I feel like it gets too serious for me, and I'm trying to be more fun with my writing. But that is probably the best work I could do in terms of a video essay, and that specific section was probably the one that I did the best on.
Mhm.
So if you want to hear, if you want to hear my thoughts on the match and specifically how it relates to time and how Tenryu defies my thesis. Tenryu is like the counterclaim to my thesis of how time affects wrestlers because of the way he wrestles here. Like that's basically what I talk about. So if you want to hear
catches
like
up to him
that,
at the end though.
yeah, it does catch up to him at
Okada.
the end. But
That
if you
was
want to hear
good.
about that, you can watch that video. I probably wouldn't even recommend it. The audio quality is terrible. But just to say, love this match to death. In terms of the Funkytowning, I have two major notes, and they both relate to the idea of, to me, wrestling is something you experience. You can write about it, you can postulate about it, you can post about it, you can discourse about it, you can analyze it at an anatomical level, but that first watch of any match, or that first time you watch a match a certain way, you're never going to get that experience back. Attempting to Funky Town it again really cemented that thought that I already had coming in, that I'm not able to replicate the feelings that I felt in that VC when we naturally Funky Towned it. But like, I was reminded of it. I still had a ton of fun watching it, and I'm glad we did it again because it's fucking awesome. But there is something really to be said that you need to value the experiences you have, not only with wrestling but with in general. Like this is just life advice at this point. But like, when you see the experiences in front of you, take them in. Don't just let them pass you by. And I don't mean like analyze them. I just mean let your whole mind and body feel the experience. Like, I'm going to remember that Funky Town VC for a long time. I probably even shouldn't, because the idea of having a lasting memory of a Discord VC sounds really funny, but legitimately just being with my friends, watching a match that I already love in a whole new way, and finding such a high level of like joy from just fucking around with my boys. Like, I can't replicate that. I can't replicate the feeling. I can't even replicate the experience. So hold on to the experiences that you go through. And if you find some way you're in an inexplicable Funky Town moment like this, like, remember that. It's not going to happen again. You're never going to be able to replicate it. So all you can do is just hold on to the memory of it.
Yeah, there are so many instances in my own life where that has applied. Like in high school, my school was a very, very, very small high school. There was like maybe 20 people in my graduating class, and I knew all of them on a first and last name basis because of just how few of us there were by the time we actually all got out of there. I wasn't friends with all of them, but I still knew more about them than I probably should have for all of my graduating class. And so a big thing that our school did, since we had so few students, was they had a lot of spare money. So they would typically do events, or they would like run like creative contests where the winner would get like free food, or they get a free trip to go someplace or whatever. And our school was very apathetic. Well, not apathetic, but they were very lethargic and they didn't really care. So my friends and I all realized that like if we just like committed ourselves to make one half decent creation, we'd automatically win because there's never any competition anyway. So, like, a good chunk of my whole senior year was the school would announce a competition and be like, hey, create a video of why bullying is bad. And then you get to win a day off and go do this thing. And we're like, well, literally nobody else is going to do it. So we'd all meet up at a park and we'd, like, make a really bad video in the span of 1 hour, and then we'd edit it, and then we'd send it away, and they'd have no choice because we were the only ones. And those types of memories, for the same reason the Kenta Funkytown stuff, is just situational, you know? Like, it's just a situation of being like, there's an opportunity, and me and my homies were all collectively like, hey, there's an opportunity here. Should we do it? We just went, yeah, of course we should do it. And we didn't have any real plan or thought or any sort of preparation for any of it, but we did it, and it was really fun, and it just turned out the only way that any of these things ever can, because you're not planning for it and you're not really preparing for it either. It just sort of comes to you, and those memories stick with me a lot, much like the Kenta-Tenryu experience. I'm gonna keep the Kenta-Tenryu experience Funky Town style forever, not only because it was my first time watching that match, but also just because it was it was just a really good time. There's no other way of putting it.
Yeah.
It was a fun experience.
I don't think
I
I've
think
experienced something like that watching wrestling before.
probably not.
Yeah.
I
And
don't
even
know,
if I
man.
never feel that experience watching wrestling again, I will be happy knowing that I had that experience at least once.
At least one single time. Funkying the town.
Yeah.
I think on the 20th anniversary of the Scramble Bunkhouse Deathcast that we're doing right now, I do think it is fitting because I don't know. I mean, obviously, there's no real motif to us doing this. This is a Kenta Funkytown situation in and of itself that we just kind of all went collectively, this would be cool to do, and then we just did it with no real plan or rhyme or reason. And the actual thesis of this podcast has changed every single episode because there really isn't any formatting at all. As I'm sure you can tell from the thumbnails and the titles and all sorts of things. Originally, our plan was every title would be like some vaguely obscure philosophical quote because we thought it'd be a funny juxtaposition, and that's slowly been dying out over time to just being a title that we can put on because we're running out of time. And the
Well,
thumbnails
eventually
and
we did
edited.
put up a web rip version of one of our episodes. Well, no, it was a web
shit.
rip upload of the WWE Speed episode to try to get
Yeah,
traction that
exactly.
way.
And like, yeah, I don't know, like it's a good signifier that just like really fun things happen when they're an idea and you don't go any further beyond just the idea state of it, and then you do it and there's no real preparation beyond that because it just becomes something. It evolves with you as opposed to being this thing that you spent a lot of time and effort planning, which admittedly will probably turn out better and people will like more, but you probably won't like it as much.
Right.
Speaking of just the chaotic, random nature of our podcast, what have your favorite personal moments been so far? I'm going to nominate the Carlos Colon incident because watching that or listening to that happen in real time and us collaborating on how to get our money back was very fun.
Yeah, I went and I listened to that episode again recently because I think somebody mentioned it. I think somebody in the egg
Catch
mentioned
did.
the Carlos Colon. Yes, Catch mentioned it, and he was like, because he'd actually hadn't seen it, and I had to hunt it down. So I hunted down the episode, watch it again. It's so fucking funny, like. Because I think Cake just says like it's like almost dead silent. We're like I'm trying to think of a funny way to start the episode, because that's that secret thing about this podcast is that we'll start recording, it'll go silent for a bit, and then usually either me or Cake will just start talking, like just about something, and then we'll just start going off of it. So I was trying to do that, and me and Ethan were talking about like water or something, and then just Cake
pop,
like Cake just pops in and goes, "He's done it."
I'm
And
gonna
like,
kill myself.
he's done it. I'm gonna kill myself. And like we both knew immediately. Like,
oh no!
and that's the same episode with the Tarzan Godo singlet stench thing.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I legitimately started laughing like so hard that I choked, and like I couldn't breathe for a couple seconds. I was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna die," because Ethan just said the grossest thing I've ever heard. That's legitimately one of my favorite. Also, it's because I get to talk about Tarzan Go. That's one of my favorite episodes. I don't.
The tragic death of none other than Judy Bagwell at the hands of the bastard Super Dragon.
Okay, similar to that, when I introduce the Cody Gauntlet and I start naming the people he's gonna face, and you can hear Cake slowly, like Cake starts to realize more and more what my plan is. He just starts laughing harder and harder with every single name. Like,
yeah, your exact machination just came to me so clearly. Oh
my
man,
god.
that part
Me
was
thinking
really
that
funny.
I had come up with the name Sex Ferguson. I was so confident. I was so confident.
You were so confident. Oh my
I forgot
god.
I forgot how much you truly believed you invented sex workers. Oh man. Oh, that one was really good. Making the scramwich was also up there for me.
Oh, I
Like
was gonna
we
mention
didn't save it. We didn't
Scramblitch.
save any of it because it was just us making it in preparation. But just the slow evolution of what would go on the scramwich, and then seeing the final product, and being reminded of the final product every time we open up the YouTube channel. We have to see it as the banner.
Yeah.
Is so good. I don't know, man. I think another thing, which was really early on, an OG staple was the Sugar. That got me really
Yes.
good when it
Oh,
first
we
came
lost
out.
we lost our way when we forgot the cigar.
Yeah,
It'll come back.
yeah, every
The
now and then
Sugar
I'll
will return when
remember
it's ready.
the Sugar every now and then. It's honestly a really depressing moment because that episode, even I can even remember some of the things we said on the episode, and I was like, this is
Yeah, number
incredible.
4.
Number 4. That's
Yeah.
like, dude, number 4, like there was a fight on that episode. Cake and Ethan started fighting, and I had to play middleman.
Yeah, we went to war.
They were actually arguing over how to analyze the Goto versus WWF stuff, and I agreed with both of them, and it was really funny because Cake would say something, and I'm like, "Well, Cake, listen," and then Ethan would start going. I'm like, "Oh no, 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 no!" I was like, "Wait, let me get in there for a second to like smooth it out." But that was
I do
such
also
a good
like how
discussion.
I do like how we just never made a 4 either. We just kept
No.
going.
No, we just went to 5
Yeah.
because 4 was so good we could not
But
redo
that's
it.
4. That
Yeah,
is 4.
Exactly.
That's 4. It's just gone. Like you're just never gonna be able to see it. We were the
Exists in
only.
thumbnail
That's
only.
a Funkytown moment. We were the only people that will ever be able to experience that episode.
I think
man.
the best thing that is well, might be the worst, but the best in terms of comedy thing that has come out of our podcast thus far is Armani coming on and not
Yes,
going to work that day and getting fired because he came on our podcast.
fired for the podcast. I was also
A
gonna mention
podcast he
that.
doesn't even fucking watch.
Dude, he doesn't watch the podcast. He just wanted to
I
come
was
on and talk
also
about the match with his grandma.
I think to wrap it up, I do want to mention I was trying to think of my 2 favorite moments from you guys specifically, like the 2 things that got me good the most. I think for Ethan it was the Nightcore Night of the Hunter that you did.
Oh yes,
Um,
I forgot
that
about that. I was going to mention that.
I think that is the funniest thing that you have done on the podcast so far. Just kind of how unbelievably funny it is watching them all sped up and grainy
Yeah.
and hearing his voice like a chipmunk.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I didn't
Oh
even
my
speed up
God.
his voice. I just chipmunked it.
Yeah, you just chipmunked it and it got me for no reason. I think you did that so could sound sped up because the video had to be sped up.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was very, very funny. And then this is a subtle thing, and I didn't want to bring it up because uh I don't know how it'll progress, but John, you say "I will say" so unbelievably often. I've been taking a mental note every single time, and it is so consistent.
I have a couple phrases that are like ingrained in my brain, and I don't know where
Mhm.
they came from. I think okay, the phrase "I will say." I think I had uh, a professor in college who would like because he was one of my literature classes, and a lot of
Mhm.
it was him giving his opinions, and he would always start his statements with "I will say," and I loved that class, and I loved learning from it. And I think I got so like taken into how he would break shit down that because I picked up a lot of my analysis shit from like his class, like the way that he will not only break down literature, but the way I break down wrestling and the way I like talk about it, like when I try to get analytical, is basically just what I learned from him. So because of that, I think that's one of the big phrases that I picked up is "I will say." Like I say that all the fucking time, and I don't even just say that like on the podcast. Like I say that in conversations. I say that
In
like
VC.
in VC. I say that to my family. Like it's just a thing that I say now, and it's a part of my lexicon.
I think my
I think I've
favorite
slowly
John
been
moment of this
adopting it.
podcast so far has been the time that he was so unbelievably racist that he went insane.
What?
Against British people, I should say. He was
Okay,
unbelievably racist
well-
against British people that he went
Okay.
insane.
What was the context for that? I forgot. I feel like I know what you're talking about, but
You went insane. It was just 2 episodes ago. You went insane trying to find the Nabiev match.
oh my
that's
god,
right.
you're right. You have to be more specific than you got really racist and you went insane. Like you can't.
That's true. That's
you can't
true.
just like it's kind of true, but it was very specific about who I was targeting, and they definitely deserved it because they're British. Oh my god. I feel like I'm trying to think. I feel like my favorite cake thing. Honestly, it might just be the cake whiteboards. Like
Yes.
cake will get onto the whiteboard and just create the most and some of it's just stuff that he's seen. Like I still think about Elvis Bowling Ball.
Every
Yeah,
single
Elvis-
time I open up the whiteboard app, I'm taken to the picture of Matt Tremont next to the Matt Tremont
Yes.
shaped cloud.
Yeah.
Let's
and
go with the Matt Tremont cloud.
and the house burning story. The house burning story has stuck with me forever. Like
car
I'm not gonna
crash
be able to
story,
forget
too.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Or not
Like,
the car crash story, the car crash hypothetical, rather.
car crash hypothetical. The fish.
Mhm.
What was it?
Fish story.
The fish story
Yeah,
with
the
the
people who
you,
were like-
you added a fish into the story of like an intruder alert, like a school or something.
It was a shutdown. There was like it was
Shutdown,
there was
lockdown.
a lockdown situation. I still think that might be true, but I need to consult about it because it still might not be. I haven't actually. The case is still out. The case is still open on that. It is not closed yet.
Yeah.
I don't recall the fire story. What was that though?
No, the fire story was like you were like a kid.
Oh
And
right, yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
like
cactus. That's right.
yeah, yeah, refilled a cactus because there was like a house burning or something.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
I was about to say,
I
is
do
that the
recall
same
that.
story where you got injured as a child? And it was.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a lot of stories of me getting injured as a child, man. That is just one of many. I was a really, really reckless kid.
Yeah.
I was a very reckless kid.
Yeah.
Here's to 20 more episodes, and in one of them, we will teach Otis all the wrestlers that we hate. We'll get him to say Uncle Howdy again, because he said Uncle Howdy in 1VC.
I'm so sad I missed that, but I will get to experience it one day.
20 episodes and no more.
No more.
That's it. Season finale, episode 40. Mark it on your calendars.
Yeah. Then I'm gonna retire to Venezuela.
Well, you can go to Venezuela. I wouldn't be caught dead in Venezuela.
I want to be like Pat McAfee. No, not Pat McAfee.
Why do you want to be like Pat McAfee?
No, not Pat McAfee. I want to be like the other McAfee.
John
The guy who
McAfee?
died?
John McAfee.
The insane one?
Yeah, the guy who got killed?
Yes. Well, I'm different.
Yeah, I know. You're not him. You're never going to be him, dude.